I like to fuck my cat. Good way to start off.
Is that seriously what you said?
Yep.
When you started it up?
Yep.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
I like to fuck my cat.
A cat is fine too.
Welcome to my new educational cooking series. I like to call this episode Eating Pussy. First, you have to skin the fur.
Oh my god.
Chop it into nice, even bits.
Sake.
I love that. No, that's a real gag he does. It's hilarious.
Who?
In his Star Wars prequels reviews.
Oh my god.
Because the whole premise is that
Red
it's
Letter
like, it's like this.
Should I tweet this link or whatever?
Oh yeah, one sec. No, not the link of the Hangout URL we're in.
No. It's the YouTube. It says Baka Gaijin Show episode 11 live or whatever.
Oh, does it like auto tweet for me?
No, I just went to your YouTube channel and it was there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, probably. Ugh. What was I saying? Because the whole premise of his prequel reviews is that it's like this insane, homicidal, like drunk old man in his basement making these Star Wars reviews because he has nothing else to do in his life or something.
It kind of deteriorated. Like if you start from the Star Trek movies, like Generations is the first video that he did.
Yeah,
it's sort of more subdued, and then it gets like the character kind of grows and gets nuttier as time goes on. At first, it's just like I'm an old man. I don't know science, but isn't this an M-class planet? You know, like it's kind of like, and then it gets kind of nuts.
He starts going off about like, how was the bridge not wet after it was submerged in this lake for hundreds of years?
Yeah.
And then they raised the water and.
Well, he's clearly like a crazy like Star Trek geek. Like he's like, oh, the blueprints show there's a bathroom over
Yeah,
here.
and then eventually he gets to the point where he's like explaining how he killed a Korean family with his car.
Yeah, exactly. His wife.
What brand of raid do you use to keep the women in your basement from getting out?
Yes, it's a fast kill, low irritant. It's kind of the blue.
You want the raid in the blue bottle, the fast kill, low irritant kind.
Or with like you trap two girls in your basement and you dump like 5 puzzles on the ground and give them an hour to put them together.
Whoever's not going this is going in the bath. Is going in like the fridge with the cockroaches in
Guys.
it.
Yes.
Guys.
What?
I need to read this to you.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, we're reading that. We're reading that thing. By the way, Kevin.
Oh.
Huh? What?
Okay, you do your thing, Kevin.
Hold on. Okay, let me read this. It's something from Reddit talking about the cartoon Peppa Pig. Not my favorite show, but some episodes of Peppa Pig are so good. There is this one episode where she's going to her dad's work and the elevator takes her and her dad over the sun. She lives in a fairly good neighborhood and her family seems to be doing well financially. Well, her dad's job is to draw shapes on a computer. Literally. That is all, and not even complicated. Circles, squares, and triangles. The storyline is confusing to follow. I think Peppa sometimes wants to get it on with Danny the dog, and he likes her too, but no one is initiating it. Rebecca is sometimes a full-on bitch, see below, so as expected, she doesn't know who she wants. Sometimes she's all over Danny, and then other times she's flirting with Pedro so hard I'm almost embarrassed for her.
This is a serious review of a show meant for preschoolers.
Rebecca Rabbit is a bitch the majority of the time. She always acts like it's her show. Like, no bitch, it's Peppa Pig, not Rebecca the stuck-up rabbit. Sorry. She dresses in a very seductive way, too. We all know the nurses' outfits are a very popular fetish, and that's why she wears them. And don't come tell me that she wants to be a nurse. There was an episode where Peppa had the flu, and Rebecca came over probably because she wanted to flirt with Danny in front of Peppa, and then they asked her to help, and she didn't even move. They had to get a real doctor in to say that Peppa was better. At that age, she could see that Peppa was better, but no, she pulled the I'm not real nurse trash. Muddy puddles and laughter at the end of the episode. I don't get why pigs would jump in muddy puddles fully clothed and just start laughing and rolling around. Mud could get into your mouth, up your vag, between your fat rolls. George is stupid, but not the stupidest. That's saying a lot because all he does is whine about dinosaurs. Hold up.
I resent that.
I'm recording.
Unprofessionals.
Anyway, back to the dumb shit that I was talking about. Overall, I watch it because there's nothing else to watch, and sometimes it's interesting, but not the best out.
There's nothing else to watch but Peppa Pig.
Edit. Her nurse uniform, Susie did, which makes me wonder what type of shows people are putting out there. Though Rebecca was the problem, and although she still sucks, the bigger problem here is the show as a whole.
That's a very serious review of a show meant for 4-year-olds.
Indeed.
I like the part where it's like, she dresses very seductively. She wears a nurse outfit, and we all know.
So, Kevin, we're going to read that thing probably like halfway through the show after a break.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm a little scared.
Dude, you got the starring role.
But I'm the asshole.
Yep.
But I'm the bigoted asshole.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's your job.
No. I get to be the sophisticated Robert Graves, and you get to be the degenerate Brendan Sullivan. Anyway, let's start the show.
Good.
Do it.
All right. I'm sorry. Stop hanging up your phone, George.
Hey. Very
I'm not hanging
good.
anything up, I'm just knocking things over.
Stop knocking things over, Jorge. It's
Very good.
very disprofessional.
Stream it. Stream it now.
Everyone shut up.
Do it.
Everyone shut up. Everyone shut up. Beginning in... Kevin. Sometimes I can't even tell what you're doing.
I'm quiet.
Alright. Beginning in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Baka Gaijin show. I'm your lovable rascal host, Zeke Freak. To my left is my ever-faithful and internally self-loathing co-host, Kevin Faulkner.
The funny thing is, this is completely accurate.
I want to point out I accidentally said self-loathing, so I guess you're like an automatic bread slicer that's like is
There's
yourself.
fear and loathing in Las Vegas.
Fear and loafing in Las Vegas. I don't want to get off. I don't want to do anything today. I just want to hang out at the hotel room. To my right.
But where does the fear come from? What if room service knocks on the door?
What if I find several dead prostitutes under the bed?
Ah, there's some fear for you.
True story, real talk. To my right, the ever faithful and silent Jorge. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hello, Jorge. How have you been doing today in the great land of Mexico?
Georg.
It is in Mexico, but it's about as hot as in Mexico.
I'm sorry, I did not realize you are from Argentina. And seated directly in front of me in this virtual room table type thing, friend of the show, Neontaster.
Am I really like are you like closing your eyes and imagining like a virtual table in which we all sit?
Yeah, yes.
Is it is it like in a fantastical location? Like,
Yes,
is it like,
it's one of the boardrooms I would sneak into at the big hotel in Waikiki.
It's like I imagine one of those like Evangelion ones with the blinking blinking tombstone things or whatever.
If this was a video podcast, this is where we'd all do the Gendo Ikari pose.
Yes, I'm doing it right now. You can't see, so it doesn't matter.
I'm doing it too.
Get in the podcast, Neon.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing the Gendo pose in the nude.
Without Asuka from
theater-
Germany,
theater
everybody
of the
would
mind.
be lost. Our country is responsible for the hollow graphic map.
Graphic map.
So, Today we have
That's-
one
that's-
simple.
That is
we
the
have one
fucking
simple
greatest
rule.
video ever.
It is. It really is.
So we're here today to discuss the best anime of the past year, Star Wars.
Not the best anime of the past 5 years, which of course we all know is Fanboy and Chum Chum, but so much so I made a fake account just to tweet that.
Boku no Pico Fury Road.
That was my no. That was
Hold
my
on,
favorite.
hold
That was
on,
my
hold on.
favorite YouTube animatic.
Okay, that's all I can do before we get fucking.
Not to fail.
That's all I can do before we get
Those lawyers are
in
alive.
several countries.
That's all I can do before we get fucking blocked or some shit.
It's the fair use limit.
Well, you know, every other episode of this show is blocked in Germany, so sorry, we don't have any German fans. What am I kidding? So yes, today we have one goal in mind. We're going to be discussing all things Star Wars, but mostly this newest film. Kevin, what is it called?
Star Wars Episode 7: The Force Awakens.
Originally titled Sveven Wars.
Kind of like Fantastic
Like-
Four with the four and the
Force Stick.
bent four stick, yes.
I
That
love
was
it
a
when
terrible
I
idea.
love it when it's originally announced with a title like that, and then they change it because they realize it's stupid, like Thief 4.
Or like Alien Paradise Lost.
No, here's the stupid thing: is that they were gonna make a 4 with Thief 4. They were gonna make a 4 out of the E. How do you make a 4 out of an E?
I'm trying to think.
Threer.
I can't even fucking say it. Fifth-rear. I love that game.
Threer.
Yeah.
Three.
Threer.
It's just Fear 3, but yeah, great.
Just like fucking. Just call it.
No, like that. I think that trend has died out lately, actually.
Yeah, because Fan Force Stick fucking killed it.
I mean, hopefully-
Literally everybody made fun of that.
I think it was dead before then, but they were just like everything else about that film. They were just late to the party.
I mean, I wouldn't even
Not
mind.
playing with a full deck, if you know what I mean.
I wouldn't even mind the reluctance to call things, number 5 or number 6 in the series, if they didn't just always use the same fucking subtitles. Resurrection.
Revolution,
Yeah, it's all
Revelations.
stuff like that.
Armageddon,
It's
The
really
quickening.
evolution.
like
I'm sorry,
the new
we had to have it.
Independence
We
Day
had.
resurgence.
If we're talking about dumbass fucking sequel subtitles, we gotta put Highlander 2 in there somewhere.
What about
I just-
What about working? Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation.
I can't wait until we get to like episode 10, and then they're just gonna start giving it stupid headers like that.
It's just gonna be Star Wars X.
Star Wars Electric Boogaloo.
It'll probably the 10th one will probably center around X-wings, so they could call it like Star Wars X-wing.
Hmm.
I'm
Star
calling
Wars,
it now. Remember
episode
where you heard this
10
first in 2022 or whatever when that movie comes out.
Da-da!
Yeah, prepare for it.
So, have you seen Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
No, of course not. That's why I'm doing a show about it.
I haven't seen it at all. That's why there are 2 different tickets for the movie in my wallet right now.
I heard it's the best / worst movie ever made. I've heard.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I will say this. Aside from the fact that it launched 1,000 think pieces, but what doesn't these days?
Of course.
It's actually, I expected there to be more like fighting about whether or not it was good or not. There's the amount of people who think it wasn't good at all is way smaller than.
Well, here's the thing, is that I don't think there's very many people arguing it's a bad film. I think the people that are disappointed with it are disappointed with it as a Star Wars film, not as a film. I think that's a very different kind of disappointment.
That's true. Well, I will say this. After I saw it, I went on a little nostalgia kick. I went back and I read a bunch of stuff that I wrote on this message board that I've been on for years. Right when the purchase of Lucasfilm by Disney was announced in 2012.
Right.
And nobody was happy about it. Everyone was so annoyed. I mean, I remember that right around that time, I was like, Star Wars sucks now. I literally posted that. Star Wars sucks now.
I burned like all my copies of the Boba Fett novels. And like, what was the point? They just took away everything I knew and loved.
Well, and I was like, I love the original trilogy, but I love it in its original form, and I can't get that. I don't want the prequels. There's nothing Star Wars in existence that I actually want to own right now, which is just a total shame.
I mean, there's some stuff. I mean, like.
Well, I was never an EU person, and again, I'm not talking toys and stuff like, because I was always just, I'm in just the.
No, I'm just saying like there's good comics, there's good books, there was good video games, like. There's
yeah, well, I mean, I was
honest. Speaking of toys, I need to get a new lightsaber.
A Kylo Ren lightsaber.
Speaking of which, we want to talk about
either Kylo Ren or Luke Skywalker, because I've always liked Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber.
Sure, it has the better hilt as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike Anakin's hilt, which sucks. You ever held that thing?
Yeah.
So
I used to own it.
I did too.
Back when like Attack of the Clones came out.
See, this is what we have in common sharing a birthday. What we don't have in common is that you apparently know nothing about Harry Potter, and that makes me sad.
All right.
But anyway,
yeah,
I want to talk about. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say that like when Disney purchased them, everyone said like, oh, it's just gonna make it even more soulless. And amazingly,
honestly,
they went the complete opposite way. Like they brought the heart back into it. I feel.
Oh yeah. I felt that there was some real passion behind Force Awakens.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, like a little anecdote that I read today. Oh, by the way, we're gonna spoil the fuck out of this. Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is
before we go into it, I could just say like those spoilers.
Totally.
Star Wars.
Yes. So
Star Wars. The spoiler awakens.
We're totally going to spoil how Luke got mild midlife depression, had a sex change, 12 abortions, and then finally killed his wife. Like,
his name is Luca. He lives on the second floor.
His name is Luca. He's a badly translated 4Kids character.
So yeah, I read today that the scene where Rey puts the food shit in the thing and puts the water in, and it kind of inflates into bread.
Insta bread here.
Yeah, that's a practical effect that took them 3 months to do.
Yeah,
it looks amazing.
And I was like,
I remember when I fucking saw that in the theater. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Kevin, it's nothing impressive. We're getting to the point where they're 3D printing pizzas. So I mean.
Well, but the thing is, that could have so easily. It's a throwaway thing. You could have so easily done it digitally or whatever. And also, like, for instance, the Jarek scene. That's the name of the hollow chess on the It's called the Jarek.
Yes, of course. Any true Star Wars fan would know that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, of course we would know that.
You know that Conan O'Brien thing where he pretends to push the glasses up on his nose.
Yeah.
That's the thing where he does where he like makes fun of geeks. He just makes that motion as though you're like pushing your glasses up like on the bridge of your nose. So yeah, they brought in Phil Tippett, the stop motion artist who did that in A New Hope, to redo it with stop motion. Why? It's like a 3-second segment.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not gonna argue that they didn't put a lot of passion into this film. I would argue some of it is misplaced, but I think definitely this is.
Oh, so people are asking why the chat is disabled in the live stream.
Oh wait, there's a chat. I've never intentionally disabled anything.
Oh, really? Yeah, there's like a chat window next to the thing where people can chat.
Activate it.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into that a little later because I understand what you're saying, and I have a bunch of observations on that. But yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was, and you know, I know Zeke isn't, and I certainly am a big Red Letter Media fan, and just sort of so disappointed in how uncinematic the prequels are.
Yeah.
And how unspecial and uninteresting they were. And when I went to see it the first time, The Force Awakens, one of the things I was paying specific attention to was interesting camera work, interesting just the movie shit that's not in the prequels, and there was just really a lot of that in a really cool way. I was like, finally. Dolly shots. They filmed outside, stuff like that.
No more reverse shot over his shoulder, walking down the hallway.
going by a cinematography standpoint, just by cinematography alone, Force Awakens is gorgeous. There's really a lot of focus put on making the film look big. Like, even in the smaller scenes where they're just going through a hallway or something, they really frame it to make it look very impressive.
So just to answer the question, I'm checking the settings. It says live chat is enabled, so I don't know what the problem is. Refresh the page, maybe. I don't know.
No, it still says chat is disabled for this live stream.
I don't know what the problem is.
Shit.
I don't know.
Sorry.
If you want to
It must be because I played the Star Wars theme for 2 seconds.
Damn it! Now everyone's in Germany.
It's
It's like Full Metal Alchemist all over again.
Yeah. So
Anyway. If you want to live comment, you can tweet at us. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good
when I
film.
The
Honestly,
things I argue are only like Star Warsy things. So.
Yeah.
We'll get into
I
that.
really loved the movie. I do have a couple of plot-based nitpicks. There are only really 2 really big nitpicks that I have with the movie.
I'm very interested.
That-
Yep.
But ultimately, I think that it's pretty much what I wanted out of a new Star Wars movie. Like,
think
on
that's
a
the main-
just on a basic level, it's what I wanted out of a new Star Wars movie, so I'm happy with that.
I think that's the main point here. Is it depending on what you were looking for in this movie, it was either exactly what you were looking for, or not so much. Just depending on what it is that you were. What it is that you were looking
I
for.
actually do. Yeah, I actually have a little bit of a rant to go on regarding certain people talking about what they did and didn't want from this movie and comparing it to the prequels. There's a certain argument that people make that I'm going to rant about later once it comes up.
You could just answer this with a yes or no. Is it the fact that people are saying, well, at least the prequels were original? Because that really,
Yes, that is okay.
really
Okay, let's
bothers
rant
me.
about it now. Okay, let's rant about it now. Okay. Okay, yeah. You know the big reason I have a problem with that? It's defending bad art. I don't care how different it was from the original trilogy. It was bad. It was full of bad ideas that were executed poorly.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead. Let me take it another step further.
Okay.
Highlander 2: The Quickening was very different from the original Highlander, and you don't see people fucking defending that after, Highlander 3 was basically a remake of the original Highlander minus anything good. You don't see people defending Highlander 2: The Quickening saying, at least it was original. No, fuck you.
Well, and
do not defend bad art. I don't care how different or original it was compared to something else. Don't defend bad art.
I think it comes from a more reasonable place, though, that they really, as much passion that went into it, they really took the easy route plot-wise here.
But so here's the thing. I understand what Kevin's saying. I actually accept the argument when people say, I'd rather have them try something something ambitious and interesting and original and fail than go safe. But that's not what George Lucas did.
Yeah.
First of all, they are way too derivative. Again, it's going to be impossible to trash the prequels without reiterating Plinkett shit, because he closed the book on that stuff.
Go ahead and quote him. It's hilarious.
The prequels are there's 2 elements to them. One is to take little shit from the original trilogy and magnify it into this very important thing. Just a really random example, the scene where they're on the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope, and Luke has the pilot's helmet with the blast shield down,
Yep.
and he has that little ball droid. It's called a remote, and it's shooting little things at him, and he's trying to block it with his lightsaber, right? In A New Hope, that's like an impromptu exercise that Obi-Wan devises. He's like, oh, we have this little game thing. Here, put this helmet on so you can't see, and try to deflect it just with using the Force.
But with the blast shield on, I can't see.
So yeah, so they took that throwaway thing and turned it into like a canonical Jedi exercise that little kids do in fucking Jedi school. Like, and it's all like that. Like, for instance, another thing. The robes. They're all wearing robes because they live on a fucking desert planet. That's not Jedi uniform. And then they turned that into Jedi uniform. You think if Obi-Wan was hiding from the Empire, he would have worn typical Jedi clothing? No.
Thank you.
To be fair, everyone on Tatooine is wearing typical Jedi clothing, so
Well, but
in a
that's
way.
Oh, does that
no,
mean
it's-
everybody on Tatooine's got fucking midichlorians up their
But
ass?
that's what I mean. You're
Yes, Kevin, it does.
He's backing into it. The thing is, everybody on Tatooine wears robes because that's what people wore on Tatooine in the originals. Later, he was like, well, Obi-Wan's look with that robe is so iconic, let's make that the Jedi look. Which is, again, a stupid premise because it retroactively invalidates stuff that happens in the original. And so that's one part of the
Yeah,
prequels.
like, it's
Take
like-
little things and magnify them. The
That's
second
one of those things that like makes sense only like retro, not retroactively, but like in like reverse logic.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Well, it's when you let the real world bleed back into your franchise. Like it's like, oh, these things in the originals were really popular. Let's make them big parts of this universe when they were never big parts of this universe to begin with. Like Boba Fett. You know, like Boba Fett was like a completely
Oh, my
throwaway character in the original, but he became so popular. It was like he's going to be the genetic basis for the clone troopers. The Clone Wars is just a throwaway line where Luke
Literally.
says to Obi-Wan, oh, you fought in the Clone Wars, right? It's like you could have done. It didn't have to be like a war with clones, and like so that's what I mean. Like it was all about let's take these little tidbits of dialogue and these little throwaway visuals.
Though to be fair, I will give the Clone Wars thing one thing. We got one of the best pieces of Star Wars animation ever out of that. So
Yeah. That's why I'm so conflicted on that whole era is because they like later the films suck, but they like later went on and like improved elements of it in different mediums.
Yes, because that wasn't George Lucas. That was people who had talent. But
hi Gendy Tartakovsky. Hi Paul.
You know what? I was
River.
actually thinking. My brother was watching it earlier today, the Clone Wars show, and I was thinking to myself, I kind of envy those who know nothing about Star Wars and like watch this media in order. Like if you actually watch that whole show between 2 and 3, because that would be like a weird experience, you know, like not
Just
knowing.
you're having a whole
yeah. But yeah, so that's one element of the prequels is let's lean very, very heavily on stuff from the originals, and the other part is let's insert all this new stuff, and that's where you get shit like Dexter Jetster, the fucking short order diner cook, and fucking a lot of very unmemorable Jar Jar Binks. Like you get a lot of like anything that's.
Well, I mean, Jar Jar's memorable for all the wrong reasons.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everything that's brand new in it stinks, except for the pod racing.
And then you
I would say the pod racing.
and fucking Watto the Jewish peddler.
Yes, exactly. I mean, everything.
Why
that's,
would you put that up? It looks so tantalizing.
Hey, Annie. But
I love how
Your
he's.
Force Jedi mind trick no work on me. Only money.
I like what I love is that he's so friendly with the guy that used to be his slave.
I know it is a weird
To be
dynamic.
fair,
It's like, oh, he's gonna.
Yeah.
To be fair, he treated Anakin and his family relatively well.
Yeah, like it wasn't like a whip slavery. It was more like a
Except for the whole bomb in their heads.
that's like mandated though. I think
I guess.
that's just slave culture, you know.
Yeah.
All
All things considered, though, Watto wasn't that bad of a slaver.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's not like so people say oh.
I can't believe I'm actually I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, Watto's a pretty good slaver. Good job, man.
If I was a slave, I'll tell you, he's in my top 10 guys.
Not as much of
a
not as much of a dick as you could have been.
Yes,
but...
exactly. He's not
No
Jabba.
pod is worth 2 slaves.
Yeah. But so like So I understand the argument that it's better to try something very ambitious and fail than take the safe route, but that's not what happened here.
Well, the thing is, I think you have to understand a certain threshold of failing.
There's also another thing. Hold on. There's also another thing.
Of course there is.
George Lucas's outlook on his own work has completely shifted over time. Back when he first made the original trilogy, he described it as Akira Kurosawa in space, and he referred to stuff like Flash Gordon, sci-fi serials, action, adventure, the battle between good and evil, the stuff that we associate with Star Wars. Recently as November, he had an interview and said, "Oh, it's a family soap opera."
Huh.
Mhm.
No!
Huh.
Well, two things happened in between the originals and the prequels. One, George Lucas didn't do anything. I mean, like, didn't hone his craft.
Excuse me, he made Red Tails?
Yeah, well, no, that was after. He made Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did not practice.
Space rabies.
Right. I mean,
Or what was it? Space rabies, duck rabies, something?
Something like that.
like Stanley Kubrick would probably be very rusty if he didn't make any movies for 20 years. And George Lucas is no Stanley Kubrick. Let's be fucking honest here for a second.
He kind of looks like a fat, graying version of him, I guess. But
You bring up these people who don't do a bunch of stuff over a few years and end up being rusty when they make new work. Now I'm a little scared for Dragon's Lair the movie.
But
It's like, what was the last thing Don Bluth made? Titan AE.
I mean, that's not a terrible movie.
No.
It just happened a long time ago. That's
all.
all. But
Yeah.
yeah. So that was the first thing that happened, was that George Lucas didn't do anything. The second thing that happened is that George Lucas had his ego inflated to fucking galactic sizes.
I thought you were gonna say he made a shit ton of money.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. It's and again, I'm actually removing some responsibility from him by saying this, but you can only hear that you're God and you know, the biggest genius of our time so much before you start believing it. And you think your shit don't stink, and you think that you can bang out a script for a movie
okay, because
in a couple of months and not give it to anybody to revise or to anybody to look at, and you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men who are afraid to tell you.
Fun fact. Most of the dialogue in A New Hope was actually edited by the actors so it would sound more natural.
I know, isn't Harrison Ford was like, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, Harrison Ford, exact words, pulled him over and said, "George, you can write this stuff, but you sure as hell can't say it."
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot my point. Fuck. I mean, he already divorced responsibility from himself the moment he decided to sit in his chair behind monitors and drink his coffee.
Well, that's but the problem was no one in that entire atmosphere was able to tell him no. Whereas on A New Hope, he had bosses. He wanted to make Luke, an old man with a robot head, and his bosses were like, "No, you can't do that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, for the prequels, he crafted this perfectly sterilized environment where nobody could tell him no. And that ended up being the prequel's downfall.
Yeah, well, movies, again, it's
I'm sorry, you need, with directing and writing and stuff, you need the struggle. You need the backdraft. You need the yes and no.
Well, a guy named William Shakespeare once said, "Art from
brevity is the soul of wit."
That just means don't waste my time.
Yeah. Well, and also it's a collaborative process.
Exactly.
There are very few people who can by themselves create a piece of like art that's very, very polished. Shane Carruth is one of those people. George Lucas, not one of those people.
Yeah, I've always said there's two kinds of creators: the ones that you really need to leave alone and let them do their own thing, and the kind of people you really need to manage.
Yeah, and again, and that's not even it's not even knocking someone. Like I don't think that's necessarily something that goes against you. Like having limitations, and again, art from adversity. It's a cliche, but it's true. Like yeah, I mean, some people just need a boss. Fucking Michelangelo had a boss, and Leonardo, and the other Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, like one of the examples I use. One of the examples I always use is that when Yoshihiro Tagashi wrote Yu Yu Hakusho, he had tons of manipulative editors down his throat from Shonen Jump, always telling him what to do, and like assistants that wouldn't do what he wanted, and that's why like, the second half of Yu Yu Hakusho is so much worse than the first. And then when he did Hunter x Hunter, he was basically allowed to do it all by himself. And look how much better that turned out.
Yeah, and there's different kinds of if you take like James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy, he was clearly given a large portion of creative freedom, but I'm also sure they were like, hey, go make this movie. We'll see you in 6 months.
Yeah. No,
like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
this is you still had like Kevin Feige as a boss or whatever, but he was like, I know you're good, and I know you have a good sense of humor, so I'm going to give you like freedom to maneuver. But yeah, it's like George Lucas literally got this deal that nobody gets. Nobody, maybe Spielberg does, but you know what? That's not even true because Kathleen Kennedy, who's the head of Lucasfilm now and whom I credit a lot for turning this brand around, was Spielberg's producer on many, many big projects, and I'm sure would say to him, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that, Saving Private Ryan, fucking Schindler's List. Like, she was there, and she was technically his boss in certain senses.
Did you say Lucasfilm or LucasArt, by the way?
No, she's Lucasfilm. She's the president of Lucasfilm.
Because aside from that, I was going to ask, where's the next Monkey Island?
I know, right?
Anyway,
we need a Monkey Island
but
movie.
you bring up.
That's what Don Bluth should do. Don Bluth should do a Monkey Island movie.
Yeah. I was about to say you guys brought up the three main elements I was going to talk about: Don Bluth, production, and Steven Spielberg. Because Doug Walker a few days ago did a Shut Up and Talk interview with Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, where Don Bluth admitted that...
Can I say the first time I read that, I thought he said Gary Gynax. I'm like, what? You brought him back from the dead?
But he was interviewing Bluth and Goldman, and I forget if it was either Bluth or Goldman, but one of them said that...
all white guys look the same. It's fine.
It was Bluth. Bluth said that whenever they made a new movie like An American Tail or Land Before Time, in regards to Spielberg being their producer, Spielberg would look at a film and look at the scripts and storyboards and say, well, why don't you do this here, drop this element, and
why don't you take these guns and make them really long walkie-talkies?
You know, but you know what? You say that, but unlike Lucas, Spielberg later came out and profusely apologized for doing that. And was like, I was wrong. I'm never doing that again. All subsequent versions are going back to the original. Like,
good.
Yeah, I mean, even he was like, yeah, I get it.
The only major alteration he has made to any movie he has made since then is with the Blu-ray version of
Polar Express. I did that weird coffee sex scene. It was weird.
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No, it was the Blu-ray version of Raiders of the Lost Ark where Indy falls down into a pit, and there's a snake right up in his face. And in the original version, you could see Harrison Ford's reflection on the glass. And they completely removed that in the Blu-ray version, and no one cares because it looks legitimately better.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, there's corrective things.
Yeah.
Like,
there's
removing...
there's like the boom mics in this shot. Let's blur that or whatever.
Yeah, the one thing I could use for a Highlander remaster is remove the wires from the quickening.
Oh, you know what my favorite thing to do is? Watch The Island and count how many times you see the equipment in the reflection of glass.
That is pretty fun.
Hold on, I think George wants to say something.
I seem to remember that there's one shot during the truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark that there's a jeep going off a cliff, and I think in one version
for the
CG.
TV, that's only for the TV version. That was originally going to be for the Blu-ray version. They did sort of like a premiere HD broadcast of the Blu-ray version, and fans fucking hated that scene, and Steven Spielberg was like, all right, we're putting the regular one back in, chill.
Killing Nazis.
It's like I'm
in
learning my
jail.
lesson. It's like I learned my lesson, guys. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. No.
Yeah, like George doesn't do that. Remember, Kevin? You remember that top 11 best things about the prequel video, where he said, where I think Doug said the only time George Lucas really took criticism to heart was reducing Jar Jar's role in 2 and 3.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, you still did something bad, and that's admitting you did something bad. But again, George Lucas is fucking unshakable when it comes to this shit.
You know what's funny
if he thinks that
Yeah.
if he thinks something is an improvement, he's going to stay in that goddamn mindset.
Well, he's also one of those people, and again, I know this because like this comes. There's people in like the plastic arts, like painters and shit, who can never accept that a work is finished. They're always tinkering with it, and they'll always put it.
I call that I like to call that Blizzard Entertainment Syndrome.
Or like a Duke Nukem 3D, no, Duke Nukem 4, Duke Nukem Forever syndrome. Yeah. Same kind of thing. It's
well,
like
that was different because they kept losing the rights and giving them to different companies, and like that was like
there was always like, oh, I want this to be the newest tech, and then by the time it was finished, the tech had like leapfrogged them by 5 years.
Funny and almost
the director.
Can I just say something? Is that the funny and almost fascinating thing about Duke Nukem Forever is that as you go through the game, like the different parts of it are like indicative of the different shooter trends of those eras they were working on it. So it's almost like a history lesson of this is what the shooters
like
were like.
Scroll down memory lane.
Yeah, it's like this is like the Quake, the Doom Quake era, and then we're going on to like the Halo stuff, and then we're going to the more modern stuff. Like it feels like chunky and segmented like that.
But
wasn't there a quote in the game like
monster?
Wasn't there a quote in the game like, I hate Valve puzzles, and then you have to do a Valve puzzle?
So yeah, there's people who are
he looks at like a Master Chief helmet on a shelf. He's like, armor is for pussies.
And so there's people who are able to scribble a bunch of lines on a piece of paper and go like.
And then he has to pick up fucking bullet armor.
Totally. And then he has to pick up shit out of the toilet and fling it at the wall. Probably the best part of that game, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things that's like, George Lucas, when he made the special editions, said, this is how I wanted, I'm making a horror now. This is how I wanted the movies to be. This is how I wanted Star Wars to look way back in 1977. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you definitely had the technology to make Luke fall down the fucking tunnel shouting like Emperor goddamn Palpatine.
They certainly had the technology to make Harrison Ford creak his neck a little to the left. That was possible.
Okay, we're not going over the Han shot first thing. That's beating a dead horse.
Just go watch the specialized edition.
That is beating a dead horse.
Photoshop head.
Yeah. So, so then we come to The Force Awakens. Because why bash Lucas when we can actually talk about something that's good?
So, hey, J.J. Abrams, good on you, man.
So here's the thing. I'm very happy. Here's my opinion on J.J. Abrams. I'm very happy that he did this. I'm very happy that he's not doing the next one. Because I thought he rebooted the Star Trek franchise very well. But then sticking around was not the right move. He even came out and admitted that they fucked up.
Right.
I personally blame
more like into dankness.
Right? Well, I blame Lindelof and Orsi and Kurtzman more than J.J. Abrams. But
my favorite gay couple of Hollywood writers.
And he took the blame, by the way, which again is something George Lucas would never have done. Like J.J. Abrams was like, this was my fault. I told him to do these things and it didn't work out and whatever. But again, I'm happy that he's not doing it.
I didn't know that because there's actually a saying that I actually very much take to heart when it comes to creating something and it fails.
Eat the booty like groceries, right?
If something fails, it's your fault. If you are at the helm of it, if you made it, if you oversaw every part of production, if it fails, it's your fault. And I'm actually rather happy that J.J. Abrams seems to think that as well, because that's some real humility. That's some real humility there.
He does have humility. You know, he after the whole lens flare thing, he also came out and was like, "I really took this too far." Like, it's not. He doesn't have this ego thing. He does listen to what people say. That's also one of the reasons I was positive about Star Wars in general, because from the first moment that Disney bought it, both like Kathleen Kennedy and then once JJ came on, all of the things that they said were clearly targeting the right audience. They were like, this is going to be practical, we're shooting it on film, we're doing all this stuff. And I was like, this is, you think a general audience gives a fuck that they're filming it on 35mm? No. Only people who understand that the prequels lacked life because they were so kind of crisp and
they're completely digital.
Right, there's the concept of a lived-in world.
Am I watching Star Wars or Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow here?
Exactly, and it's the concept of a lived-in world, and I think Star Wars, A New Hope, essentially completely reinvented that idea. Like before that, if you ever watch movies that were made not that long before, like Logan's Run or whatever, they do not feel lived in. This was like a dirty.
Right, yeah. After Star Wars, everybody wanted lived-in, dirty Star Wars, sci-fi.
Right, and then
future. That's what the aesthetic is called.
Yeah.
Future.
Blade Runner, which was also a kind of a gritty, a future that had hovels and squats and abandoned buildings and
I always get annoyed at I always get annoyed at futures where everything is chrome and shiny and all that, because I'm like, well, just because we have new buildings doesn't mean they're going to tear down all the old ones.
Yeah, I described this. I wrote a review of Akira a while ago, and I described how it's really, really dirty compared to the stuff that they do now.
There is literally a SpongeBob quote that goes with that. Everything is chrome in the future.
But yeah, that's an old 50s kind of idea of it. Everybody's wearing Mylar clothing and shit.
Yep.
So if you look at Akira, there's the scene where the city council's having their meeting, and it's all ashtrays full of cigarette butts and fucking coffee stains on everything. Even to that extent, it's just this really kind of disheveled. Where today, it's all super crisp boardrooms with a shiny black floor. It's all super, super new.
Yeah, but not a Roomba in sight, weirdly enough.
Exactly. Now, speaking of, it's heard you said Roomba, because I was just watching Monogatari, and there's a whole Roomba thing there.
Wow, I didn't know a Roomba could fit in a Japanese house.
Well, they're all rich. Did you notice, by the way, that in anime everybody's rich? Unless there's a specific plot point about them being
well,
poor.
except for Poor Fag Gonna Be Poor, the one Monica classmate that has the notebook instead of the laptop.
But look at her house. She has a fucking her bathroom is a fucking public bathroom.
Oh, I love the Madoka future because it's classrooms are in these glass cages almost.
Yeah, it's this it has a glass wall or whatever, a stained glass wall.
Yeah, the whole building is one giant Walmart warehouse, and they just build a bunch of glass rooms.
Yeah, welcome to your current future, as designed by Salvador Dali.
So yeah, I feel like they really brought back that kind of dirt, that grit, that sort of lived-inness.
No, you're not gonna get any complaints from me about how the movie looks.
Yeah, okay. We can we can get to we're gonna get now to complaints and stuff, but in as much as Kevin said originally that it really it met his expectations. I remember even before the movie came out, I said look, if this really feels like Star Wars to me, if this is a very Star Wars-esque movie, then even if the plot's just all right, I still think I'm going to really enjoy this. And I think it took it one further than that. It wasn't only that it felt very Star Wars-y, but I also felt like they introduced a lot of new stuff that's memorable and interesting enough so that I'm I really want to know what happens to these characters in the next movie.
Right.
Whereas, who gives a shit what happened to Dexter Jetster? He probably died.
I want to see some more goddamn Poe Dameron. I want to see more Poe
Dameron. I have a feeling he's gonna get like a spin-off movie or something like that because he was very popular and yeah, I mean that trio was very well cast.
Oscar Isaac stole every scene he was in.
He's a great actor.
I'm not comfortable calling them a trio yet, seeing as the three of them haven't even shared a scene together yet.
That's true. I meant just like the trio of characters. Those are like the three big new introduction. I mean, there's also, of course, Kylo Ren and to a lesser extent Hux, which by the way is interesting because the guy who plays Hux, Domhnall Gleeson, and Oscar Isaac are the only two actors in fucking Ex Machina, which is also a movie that has robots.
Yeah, you know what else Domhnall Gleeson was in? He was in Harry Potter, Kevin, but you wouldn't know that.
That's true.
Shut up.
He's also great. I mean,
he is great.
I think Hux is a very underrated character in Force Awakens because he's fucking Hitler in that movie. I mean, that whole speech he gives where he's yelling about destroying the Republic. There's no way he didn't watch a bunch of Hitler speeches and modeled himself after that. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know, I actually find it hilarious. Someone on Tumblr actually complained about the Nazi overtones with Hux, and I'm like, have you watched a Star Wars movie before?
Yes. I mean, it's like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. It's
I mean, if you watch the prequels, I guess the Separatists have like a China motif, weirdly. Because all the Trade Federation guys are like these gray-skinned, slant-eyed, headdress-wearing motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's like a very racial. It's a very sort of racist cartoon. The whole like, what's his name?
Me and my brother watched the Clone Wars, and we like to call the Separatists Space China.
What's the name of the head of the Trade Federation?
Newt Gunray.
Newt Gunray is the stupidest idiot in the world.
Newt Gunray is even stupider than Anakin.
This is all Red Letter Media quotes, by the way. Kevin. But like, yeah, the new stuff that they introduced was all interesting and memorable. BB-8. Oh. Everybody loves BB-8, and justifiably so.
BB-8's. I'm sorry, but honestly, I was expecting to hate BB-8. I was expecting BB-8 to be this horrible comic relief. BB-8 is the cutest fucking thing.
Yeah. And like
it's essentially a soccer ball with R2-D2's head on it, and it's extremely expressive.
Yeah, well, that's credit to like the whole like Sphero. There's a whole story about how that thing was born because Disney bought some tech company years ago, and then Bob Iger and J.J. Abrams. It was kind of like this weird like confluence of because if you look at there's old Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Star Wars that has an early design for R2-D2 that kind of looks like BB-8. Mm-hmm. And then also J.J. Abrams had this idea of like a ball droid. And then Bob Iger was like, hey, you know, my company kind of bought a company that makes a thing like that. Why don't I put you guys in touch? And then that kind of that's where BB-8 was born.
I like when people find uses for old ideas. It's like how Wonderful World of Gumball, like all those characters are like rejected ad mascots.
Sure. I mean, and that's and again, why not do that? Because again, I think Ralph McQuarrie, to a certain extent, is the guy who invented the Star Wars look. I mean, he's the guy who drew all this shit. Yeah. I mean, and and
he drew it. This shit, he drew it.
So yeah, and again, and Kylo Ren and I really like a thing that I loved and people didn't like, but then now like is the TR-8R.
Traitor!
Yes. And
real Traitor Hours. Retweet if you still up.
His melee weapon, which I call a Jedi nightstick. Because that's what it is. It's a Jedi nightstick. It's like a two-handed thing, which again
I've been loyal for 2 hours now, by the way.
So yeah, again, I think on the technical level, we're all in agreement that it was basically everything that we wanted. There's a really good you can see there it's going around online now of a visual effects reel of Force Awakens that shows you how they made different shots and different effects. And a lot of it is really interesting. Like, there's the scene where the Millennium Falcon takes off on Jakku. There's a backdrop scene that they shot for that, where they took a helicopter and hovered it low over the ground so it kicks up all the dust, and then they just used that like as the background for the Millennium Falcon taking off. So like all the dust cloud that it kicks up is actually a real dust
Oh my
cloud.
God, that's fucking great.
Yeah, it's all that little shit like that really makes it sort of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zeke, what did you
It
not
feels
like
like
about it?
it's actually fucking there.
Yeah, and I think people have CGI peaked at some point, and now, because I mean, you look at something like Transformers, the CGI in it is brilliant. I mean, it looks amazing.
Oh yeah, they had to create completely new techniques to actually get the Transformers to transform.
They had to do brand deals with all those car dealerships. I mean, like, that's a lot of work.
But the point is, we've reached a point where it doesn't matter what they blow up, or we've seen everything already. It doesn't matter. Like it loses its sheen. Now what people are beginning to get impressed by is stuff where you're like, did they really shoot that? How did they?
Yeah. Because that kind of shit's always impressive. You go back and watch John Carpenter's The Thing, and you're like, how the fuck did they get the
Oh my
thing?
God.
Yeah, that's a really good example. But I'll go to one.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day. A lot of that was actually practical effect.
Yeah, even the T-1000, a lot of it was puppets, like the sheet.
Like, you remember
with the shotgun, and it does the ping, 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 ping.
Neon, you remember the Plinka thing where he talks about how the opening to Revenge of the Sith is not impressive because
it's a long continuous shot,
Yeah.
but it's all CG, so who cares? But then conversely, the mask.
it's just a computer. They can make the camera run as long as it needs to.
And it's funny because he references the Goodfellas shot in that sequence. If you've watched Goodfellas, there's a scene where Ray Liotta and his girlfriend or whatever, they come to the club, and it's this one long shot that follows them from the back door through the kitchen and through the back thing all the way out to the room. And it's really involved, and it had to be like rehearsed and re-rehearsed and done many times.
The thing that the thing that started when I was little, the thing that made me really admire filmmaking was watching behind the scenes of Spider-Man 2, where they had those cameras on those rails suspended in the air when they were filming the train.
Sure.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff when I was a kid, like, that really impressed me.
So, like, if you look at the scene where they go to Maz Kanata's palace, there's when they open the door, the camera flies in and flies around the room and kind of pans to the side to see, like, people playing games and stuff, and then it kind of rolls up to Maz Kanata, and you see her from the back, and then she kind of perks up, and she turns around and goes, Han Solo! And everybody kind of
right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a film. It has cinematography, and I think the only reason we're talking about this is because the prequels didn't.
It's true that this probably has more impact because of the lack of it previously. It's interesting that you said that, because again, if the prequels were bad but were really cinematic and shit, then nobody would be impressed that these movies look like this.
Yeah.
So it is true that in a sense they have the benefit of having a really bad opening act. But yeah, but like
literally,
I said,
literally nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, but again, like I said, I found the characters very likable and very interesting. There's a scene right at the beginning where I remember saying to myself, I'm going to like this. And the scene is this. They capture Poe Dameron. They bring him to Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren kind of kneels in front of him. And then Poe Dameron goes, so who's going to talk first? You're going to talk first? I'm going to talk first?
Yes!
And he does this. You got this thing on your face. It sounds kind of ad-libbed. He says, like, you got this thing. I don't know how to, like, I don't have any visual
That's
tools
the thing I didn't expect, is that this film is more comedic than I think anyone expected it to be.
Well, it's funny because I watched A New Hope the day before I went to see Force Awakens. I watched the despecialized edition, which, like I said before, some Czech guy spent a decade erasing all the changes that Lucas made.
Yeah.
And I forgot how funny it is. It's very jokey, and in an ad-libbed way. Like, one of my favorite parts in it, which apparently is completely ad-libbed, is when they bring they're trying to rescue Princess Leia, and they bring Chewbacca up to the prison block or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, we got a prisoner for a cell, whatever. And he says, I got to call down for this. So they pull out their guns. There's like a gun battle. And then the guy on the comms comes out and goes, hey, what's going on over there? And Han Solo, like, presses the button and goes, nothing. we're fine up here. How are you doing? Or whatever.
And,
I goes like,
no. The funny thing is that he fucking cringes the moment he says, "How are you?"
Yeah, and apparently that was just a completely off the cuff thing that just kept it in there. But it works so well because he like you said, he cringes, but it's actually him like it looks like he's angry at himself for fucking this up, which he was, but not for that reason. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like in the world, he's saying to himself, nice going, Han, real slick.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's jokey, but in a very sort of charming way. Like, I like where he says, like, when Finn is rescuing Dameron.
The humor comes from the characters, not the situation.
Right. Like, it actually reminds me a lot of that first or 11th Star Trek movie humor. Like that scene with Kirk and McCoy running down the hallway while his hands are engorged.
I think my favorite humorous scene
Shut
in the
up,
movie
printer!
has to
I don't care about a paper jam problem. I'm not printing anything.
I think my favorite comedic scene in Force Awakens has to be when, and I think Neon was going to say this, when Rey, Finn, and BB-8 are on the Millennium Falcon after they lose the guys on Jakku. And there's a leak, and Rey is trying to fix the leak while Finn is up on top, and it's like, could you hand me that? That's not what I want. That's not what I want. There, where I'm pointing, look where I'm pointing. I'm pointing right at it.
You know
right
what?
there.
It would not surprise me if they didn't actually tell John Boyega what to grab.
That's not about, that's actually an interesting notion. That might be true. But that actually wasn't the thing I was referencing, but that is a very funny moment.
Yeah. My favorite funny moment is that really awkward helicopter shot they ended on. That was funny.
I mean, I didn't mind that. I don't
mind the cliffhanger. What I mind is that was a really bad shot to end
really?
it on.
I didn't think so. I mean, later when it was pointed out to me, I looked at it again. I was like,
watch it again. It is so awkward.
I mean, I saw the movie twice, but a couple of moments that I love dearly, one of which I guess a lot of people missed because I had to point it out to people, was when Finn is rescuing Poe Dameron. He takes his helmet off and he's like, I'm going to rescue you. And Poe Dameron's like, why? Why are you helping me? And Finn goes, because it's the right thing to do. And then there's like this moment of silence, and then Poe goes, you need a pilot, don't you? And he goes, yeah, I need a pilot.
Okay, since we're sharing, my favorite is when Kylo Ren has a meltdown and starts slashing the wall, and the two stormtroopers, and then they just like slowly back away.
Yoink!
It's just,
we're not gonna bother him right now.
Not doing this.
No,
Not again.
He's having another one of his episodes.
Or I love the one where they land on Starkiller Base, and he's like, so, how are we gonna find the shield generator or whatever? And he's like, he's like, so what do you do here? He's like, sanitation. And Han's like, sanitation? Then how are you gonna shut the field generator off? And he goes, I don't know, we'll use the Force. And Han goes, that's not how the Force works.
That's not how the Force works.
That's such a great, again, it has so many of those little great moments that I thought was very, it never got so
and Han just has this completely, and Han just has this completely incredulous look on his face, like, did you just fucking say that to me?
That was a great moment for a number of reasons, because it's like, that's so, like, grown up Han. Like, that's so, like, Han has gotten to this point now that he's now offended that someone's implicating the Force improperly.
Yes.
Like, whereas before he wouldn't give a shit and he'd do it himself. So,
Well, considering all the shit he went through over the past 30 fucking years, he better.
Yeah.
So, Zeke, what did you not like? I'm very curious to hear this. Because, again, there's a few, there's the whole Max Landis, Mary Sue thing.
I'm not talking about that.
Kevin can be quiet if he wants. I would not call her that. I would say she is in danger of becoming one, but that's a different topic.
Okay. I mean, you're not wrong, I think.
Yeah, my two.
I'll give you that.
My two. Yeah, if handled improperly, that could happen. Red lights, red flags. Anyway, my two main problems are, one, there are plot parallels, and then there's just doing the same thing again. And this felt really, I don't want to say lazy because of all the passion that went into it, but I want to say this is the plot points in this movie are very safe. Like, this is very point for point A New Hope.
Yeah. The one big issue I have with the movie, the biggest issue I have, is actually, I don't have an issue with all the parallels except for one big parallel, and that's Starkiller Base.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that.
I just have so many problems with Starkiller Base. Mainly...
Okay, here's the thing, though. I'm glad it actually makes sense, because this thing actually does kill stars, so...
Yeah, sure.
Aptly named.
And it's a reference to the original character name of Luke Skywalker. His original name was Luke Starkiller.
The one thing I don't like is that it basically confirms that we're not going to get Galen Merrick. So...
But,
actually, interesting thing, before I saw the movie, that was one of my theories for who Kylo Ren could be, was Galen Merrick from the Force Unleashed games.
Oh, okay.
Vader's secret apprentice Starkiller.
Sure.
So, like that, those games are non-canon now, but I thought they could probably incorporate something similar to that. I mean, it wasn't, but that was one of my theories.
All right.
Something that actually really irritated me about the film regarding Starkiller Base is that we know that it is basically a third Death Star, and they kind of make fun of it in the movie.
Yes, they do.
Just because you're making fun of it doesn't mean you aren't doing it.
I think that's called hanging a lantern or something like that.
Lampshade, yeah.
Lampshade, yeah.
But here it's, to quote Mr. Enter, and he likes to use this a lot, it feels like they're going, what I'm doing is bad, I know it's bad, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, is that so many of these recycled plot points are like, sort of like, they're like, oh, it's all new and we've raised the stakes, but it's always like, sort of like in all but name. Like, Jakku is Tatooine in all but name. Starkiller Base is the Death Star in all but name. You know.
But so here's where I reserve judgment. Okay, think of it like this: if you had seen Fellowship of the Ring, okay,
I have many times.
But I'm saying, like, place yourself in a hypothetical scenario in which you do not know anything about Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's going to be difficult, but I'll try.
And you see Fellowship of the Ring. Okay. There's so much of it that's still very open, very unexplained, but it's part of a trilogy. So there's a lot of complaints about this movie. I think will either be rectified or confirmed, depending on what happens later. That's why, by the way, I do not like episodic anime blogging. Like, I can look at a show like a 2-core show, 13 episodes in, and be like, look, is it good? I don't know.
I just don't like it when
all this shit's gonna pay off or not.
I just don't like it when A&N does it.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
I don't like it because it's not explaining something within the first 30 seconds of the show.
Well, that's exactly right. Like, there's some shows where the reveals and the shit falling into place happens so late, where you're like, this made everything worth it. Eureka 7, great example of that. Where, like, for the longest time, you're like, what's this world? What's going on here?
What the fuck is a scrub coral?
Yeah, I don't even and at some point you totally even forget that they never even explain it, but then they explain. You're like,
well, it's not so much that they explain it, but they talk about it in a way that you can infer it.
Yeah, but I mean, and it just takes time. It's a slow burn.
You're not gonna know what scrub coral are until like episode 40, but it's all gonna make sense.
Right. So and considering
just remember, Neon. Just remember, Neon. Hashtag Dewey was right. As of AO, he was right.
I guess so. So you said, like, Jakku is Tatooine all but name. Starkiller Base is a Death Star in all but name. There's a positive to be taken from this, because again, as a movie that functions as what they call a soft reboot, I think that relying very heavily on A New Hope is almost kind of expected. Although, like I said, I think the biggest difference here is it had a weird, like, double protagonist arc, which A New Hope didn't at all.
That kind of, like, misleading advertising annoyed me a little bit.
Really? I mean, that's a J.J. Abrams staple.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I know. I'm just saying. Of course, you would like it, Kevin.
I don't mind. I like mystery. Like, I'm baffled by people who look at J.J. Abrams and his penchant for not revealing stuff and don't like it. I'm like, the number one complaint I hear today about movies is that they give away everything in the trailers. And finally, along comes someone who is entirely opposed to that, and he gets shit.
Here's the thing, though, Neon, is like, yeah, he didn't give away anything in the trailer, but that's probably because there wasn't much to give away, because this movie is very predictable.
Well, again, aside from the main part of you don't really know who the main character is until later, but
And even then, you sort of don't know.
So back to what I was saying, the fact that you had because this movie had a desert planet, an ice planet, a forest planet, a Death Star. Okay.
To their credit, the ice planet was a bit different because this one was more of a trees and tundra kind of.
I'm just talking about in terms of like the visual environments that they introduced.
Yeah, I know.
To me, the good part about this is that then now they're going to go and do other shit, and that, by the way, is the reason I'm happy J.J. Abrams is not making the next one.
Yeah.
Because I think he sometimes has a little too much of a desire to hang on the past. I'm also happy that they got Rian Johnson, who's a bit more of like an indie-ish, grittier director. And also John Boyega came out and said that it's going to be much darker than The Force Awakens, and people went like, here we go with Empire, and I'm like, that's the arc.
That's also the thing that people were saying about Revenge of the Sith, and Plinkett was like, darker doesn't mean it's better. It just means darker.
But it's not that people. To me, like when people heard he said it was going to be darker, they said, "Oh shit, they're going to just ape off of Empire."
Oh my God, they get to write it. Episode 8, Generabuchi.
No, but so to me, that's not a big. I'm not afraid of that because the 3-act structure.
I get what you're.
Includes the second act being darker and more.
I get what you're saying. My problem is this is a third of as far as we know, this is a third of the story we're gonna get, and it was all point for point A New Hope with only slight subversions here and there in how certain things were handled.
Also, about half of this movie also took from Empire.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It did borrow. It was almost like a weird combination of A New Hope and Empire. But again,
it essentially blew through half of the original trilogy.
But so that's the thing. To me, as
just
a
like the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, as a soft reboot, I find that to be wholly acceptable. Again, provided that now it goes down a different path.
Well, here's the thing. You can do this kind of soft reboot plot parallel thing and not do the same exact thing. And Kevin, yes, I'm bringing it up again, but I'm going to bring up Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal as an explanation of how you cannot do that. Because Zexal has the most common similarities starting out with the original. It's got a young boy with a golden artifact and a spirit that teaches him how to duel and whatnot. But the way it's handled and the way the plot direction goes is completely different. And Astral is very different from the Pharaoh and whatnot. Like there's ways to do plot parallels and not do the same thing. And I feel like this is very much doing the same thing. And this is a third of the story that, as we know, we're going to get. There should have been more new. Like, I really wanted this to be...
I disagree. I think there was enough new. And again, by the way, the only thing people complain about is the new shit. They're like, why did we need that Rathtar scene on Han Solo's ship? I'm like, do you want something new or do you not want something new? Make up your fucking mind already.
Well, here's the thing. The Star Wars audience is so big.
That scene, hold on. In defense of that scene, it gave us an idea of what Han Solo was doing in the 30-year interim.
I agree. Like I said, I agree. I like that mix. I like where I was like, this is interesting. We've never really had anything.
I like that scene too, but here's the thing, is that the Star Wars audience is so wide, you're never going to get a consensus on anything. So
that's true.
Going by that is kind of a pointless endeavor.
I'm sorry.
That's
Literally everybody is a fan of Star Wars.
Yes. So again, I think to me,
Kevin, everyone's a fan of Harry Potter too, but I guess unlike Kevin,
you really should just marathon all of those. They're actually not bad.
I have them all on Blu-ray. I could send it to you.
Nah, I can buy them.
Yeah. You just gotta survive like the first two, and then it's pretty good.
What are you saying, Neon?
I don't know. I saw Neon.
The books. Yeah.
I don't know. I saw half of Chamber of Secrets, and I liked what I saw.
It's again. So the thing about Harry Potter, if we can.
Yeah, just
do a
slight
tangent for a second.
Yeah, slight tangent.
The thing that I like about that series a lot is that it actually grows as the characters grow. It goes from being more of a child's more of like a children's story to more of an adult story as the characters become adults from children.
It's
So, like, the first
it's almost
couple movies-
perfect like that because it's like they start out with like problems for like 11-year-olds and they end for problems for adults.
Yeah, and it's almost like I could totally see like how as they were coming out, like if a kid would have their parents read it to them or whatever, and by the last one they're reading it on their own and kind of growing with the characters. I thought it was really good, but again, as an adult, the first two might seem a little juvenile to some.
A little.
But yeah. So anyway.
Honestly, they're directed by Chris Columbus. I'm not surprised.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But as for Star Wars, again, it had to really reboot things in a big way, like not just the story but also the franchise, and therefore I'm totally satisfied with that. Again, look at Star Trek, okay?
Yeah.
The Star Trek reboot.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yes. But Star Trek is not Star Wars. Okay. Not everyone's seen Star Trek.
No, I know that's fair. But again, if you look at Star Trek, it works really well, despite the fact that it's all just references, and then the villain is yet another Romulan with some big ass ship and time travel. Like they did this before. They already fucking did this.
But that was such a coagulation of a lot of different Star Trek elements that it felt more fresh than this. This is very point for point.
I mean, again, you know what? I expected it to be more than it was. Like in the end, I was like, yeah, I guess this was kind of New Hope-ish, but I don't know. Like
wait, did you expect it to be more New Hope-ish or less?
Yes, more.
Okay.
Considering the fact that like a lot of people were saying, oh, it's very New Hope-ish, like once the reviews started coming out, and I kind of cautiously dipped into reading a few of them.
Yeah. Well, here's
I was
the thing.
going into it expecting it to be way closer than it was.
Well, the thing is that I was expecting it to either be completely New Hope-ish or not at all, and this is somewhere in the middle, but it's leaning a little too closely to New Hope-ish for me.
Okay.
And maybe they will go in a completely new direction, but I'm just a little disappointed they didn't do it here with their big debut.
No, where'd George go?
Yeah.
Who cares? He wasn't talking anyway.
Don't say that.
He knows it. He knows it's true. Honey, don't tell me.
Wherever you are, George, like, come back in whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you have the link. You have the link. You have the power. What was I saying?
You got touch.
You got the power.
There's magic in those tapes, man.
God damn it, Kevin, you've distracted me. Is that everyone has seen Star Wars. Everyone knows the story of Star Wars. I don't think this sort of soft reboot approach was necessary because it's like everyone knows it. You don't need to reiterate this. It's not like...
You'd be surprised. Apparently there's a lot of people who this was their first Star Wars movie. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I know. I know, Neon. 5-year-olds exist. It's
well, again, it doesn't matter.
No. Like, to quote, John Boyega was actually on
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel Live. And it's like he was...
I just said that name randomly, but okay.
It was one of them.
Yeah,
but he was talking about when he told his dad that he was in Star Wars. It's like, and his dad told him, "I know." It's like, "Yay! I knew you could do it." What is Star Wars?
So like,
I'm not surprised there's normal fags out there. I'm just saying anyone who cared about this movie has seen Star Wars. Also, if you're going into the 7th movie in a franchise without seeing the first 6, you're kind of dumb.
I mean, I guess.
Or in this case, half of the 6, but whatever.
Yeah. But so like I said, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that like on a very visceral level, I just didn't feel like it bothered me. Meaning like I like when I went to see.
No, I get it. It's totally a personal thing. I get it.
When I went in to see Into Darkness, because again, I've always suffered from theater excitement syndrome, where like you're sitting in the theater and you're watching the thing, you're like, this is awesome, and then like 6 months later, you're like, that was terrible. Like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Right.
But like when I saw Into Darkness, I remember about 3/4 of the way through going to myself, this isn't really good. Like this is, I mean, it's slick and it's interesting and it has cool action sequences and like everybody's good in it or whatever, but this isn't, it's not hitting. Like when I saw the first one, I was like, this is awesome. When I saw Mad Max, which is probably the best movie of last year, I remember the entire time sitting there in the theater, I was like, this movie is fucking tits. Like, and it
This
just,
movie is fucking tits. Okay.
yeah, and I got it on Blu-ray. I watched it twice recently, like in very close succession, and watched all the behind-the-scenes stuff. By the way, speaking of the renaissance of practicality and stuff, a big part of what makes that movie so impressive is how much of it is really done for real. And like the CGI is mostly done to composite, like to erase out all the rigging. And like, you know, like if they blow up a truck, they're not going to drive other cars right next to it as it's blowing up. So then later they like merge two shots, so it looks like, you know, there's other cars around as the truck blows up. They really blew it up. They really spent 8 months in Namibia fucking driving around like crazy. They built 150 cars from scratch, essentially.
Yeah.
That's impressive now in a way where, like, because again, you could make you know, fleets of like thousands of ships in a computer and nobody will be impressed by it. That's what's going to be funny about Independence Day Resurgence, I think.
Yeah.
Or Regenesis or whatever it's called. Because they have
Another
like
one of those fucking
a
titles.
ship the size of the Earth. It's almost like they're
Jeez,
comically.
why don't they just make a fucking Unicron movie? Am I right?
I know, right? It made me, or a TTGL movie.
Yeah.
We can CGI a robot that's the size of the entire universe.
Yes.
Well,
but will
okay.
it actually
First of all,
be
Neon,
better?
that was going to be very difficult to do in practical effects. Let's be honest.
They'll build a miniature. It's only the size of the
A
solar
miniature
system.
universe.
Yes. It's a no. I mean, I was going to say they're going to build a miniature version of it.
I fit the entire universe inside this cardboard box.
Good news, everyone.
This box contains our own universe.
I fucking love Professor Farnsworth.
Who doesn't?
What? Okay. Wasn't there rumor that that Netflix was going to revive Futurama again?
Again?
Netflix
you know.
is going to be making, or Matt Groening's going to be doing something at Netflix.
Isn't he dead?
No.
That's just what the internet wants you to believe. Also, I love going on Futurama discussions, and it always, whenever there's a bad episode, everyone just blames David X. Cohen for everything.
Damn it, David.
But yeah, so you know what, Zeke? If the next movie is not different enough, then I will totally be on board with your assertion. But again, if it really branches off now and does something really interesting and cool and different, 'cause again,
This is, like, I'm at the point here that I was after Ruby Volume 1, where I'm like, this shit needs to get original and fast, or I don't care.
sure,
And they did. So.
And in a sense, that's why I think it's good that they crammed every Star Warsy thing into this one. It had a desert planet, an ice planet, a forest planet, a Death Star. Whereas if it had only half of those things, I'd be like, okay, next one we're getting a Death Star, because there wasn't a Death Star in this one. But in this one, they did everything, so that then they really have to do something new next time.
Or they could do
different.
everything again.
Well, sure, but again, what I'm saying, but that wouldn't be good. Like that's, I mean, like, and I still have faith that they know what needs to be done. And again,
No, I have no doubt that they think they know what needs to be done. I think that's the thing I was talking about passion being misplaced here, is that I'm sure they thought that this is what everyone wanted, because people complain the prequels are too different. So like, well, let's make a movie that's exactly like New Hope.
I think most people are very satisfied by this movie because, again, I think at the end of the day, because it's so much fun, it's exciting, and the characters are interesting, I think that the story became less critical for people. Whereas in the prequels, the characters were so dry, the story had to be ultra compelling to make up for it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that it succeeds on that front as a film, and maybe that was the goal. But I think my thing is about Mistaken Passion is that they put make this a good movie ahead of make this a good Star Wars movie.
That's an interesting point. But like I said, I want to see.
Honestly, I think that was the one thing that they had to do the most, because the prequels sucked. So,
but did they really
they needed to make a good movie.
But did they really need to? Here's the question: is that I gotta phrase this correctly.
Don't worry about it. Take your time.
Yeah. Did they need to Because everyone was gonna. It's kind of like Ego Raptor made this point. It's like they could have released this film with no advertising, and it probably would have made about the same amount of money.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I understand the point you're making is this is such a sure home run, regardless of what you do, that they could have afforded to be riskier because the fan base is already in place. I understand that. I understand that assertion. The thing I'm not so sure about is that, to me, it feels like they're looking at this big picture, and they're like, we have a bunch of more films. What we don't want to do is we don't want to get a movie that makes a lot of money, but then people are like, all right, whatever. Like, because again, people will flock to see this in droves, but will they then buy the toys, get excited about the other movies? And I think that's what this did.
Hold on.
Whereas if you took risks, then it could have made $1 billion, but then not gotten people to love Star Wars again.
Yes, but that's a double-edged sword because I think their approach also drove away some hardcore fans as well. So
maybe, but you know what? I feel like now, because here's the beauty of this. Now that they've done this, and now that they're going down multiple lines at the same time, because next year we're getting Rogue One, which isn't part of this trilogy. It's something else entirely. And by the way, something that I've always wanted.
Yeah, we'll know exactly how many Boffins died.
Well, no, that's the second Death Star. That's a common misconception. The Bothans died getting the second Death Star plans.
Well, of course I knew that. I was just testing your Star Wars trivia.
So the thing that I'm excited about, and the thing that I really like about this, is I like smaller stories set in bigger universes. Like, not every Star Wars story has to have exploding planets and fucking entire galaxy wide ramifications. This is like, here's a team of these soldiers, and they got to go do a thing. It's like a World War II movie.
Yeah.
How many World War II movies
that's what
show
people
you
liked about
decisive...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Neon. A couple minutes ago, you mentioned that they had to hook people on a good movie to keep them coming back to the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they would lose money and they wouldn't care about the toys and that sort of thing. That actually happened with the prequels, because Phantom Menace, its box office take was $924.3 million.
Kevin, I'm going to interrupt you because I know exactly what you're going to say. I'm going to repeat what you said, which is that it wasn't that it was original, it was that it was bad.
I know. But
well, that's what I'm saying, is that if there was a lack of toy sales, it was because of that, not because it was original.
But hear me out here. The next movie grossed about $300 million less than that on the same budget, with $649 million, and Revenge of the Sith only managed to get up to $848 million. So something similar did happen there.
Only $848 million.
Admittedly, it was still a success either way because fucking Star Wars.
Kevin, why don't I give you a small loan of $1 million?
But the same. But understand, this was. I saw this with a lot of people.
So did I.
No. I saw this with a lot of people. When the prequels came out.
Oh, I thought you meant you saw the movie with people.
I saw this with a lot of people because when the prequels came out, people didn't want to believe that they were bad movies.
Right.
Yeah.
They deliberately deluded themselves, saying, "Oh, it's good because," and they tried to come up with some reasons, some bullshit reasons as to why they liked it, because they didn't want to admit, yeah, I didn't like this very much because it's Star Wars, the new Star Wars, the first one in over God knows how long. So it wasn't until later when it wasn't until later, like well after the prequels came out, that people looked back, saw the original movies again, and said, you know what? The prequels were kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's like, but still, there was that fluctuation in box office with the prequels.
I mean, I don't think the next movie is going to make as much money as this, because there really is that it's the first one factor that's often very hard to match. But in terms of how much people love Star Wars now, it's like you saw like there was this whole Where's Rey issue with Hasbro. I think made a really bad
like air quotes issue.
Well, no, I think. Well, you know what? This is because again, you guys know me. I often roll my eyes at gender grievances. Exactly. This was one case where I was like, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, this is such a dumb move. But there was such a demand that Hasbro were like, you know what? You're right. We're gonna put out. I mean,
okay. What makes me laugh about that is that it's like the opposite of the Oculus Rift. Where it sold out not because it was such demand, but because they didn't make a whole lot of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like people really want stuff from this. The imagery from it is already very attractive and very iconic, I'm betting that next Halloween is going to be the Halloween where everybody goes as fucking Rey and goes as Kylo Ren.
Everyone's gonna have a goddamn crossguard lightsaber.
There's gonna be a bajillion Kylo Rens. It's actually because it's also an easy costume. It's just a mask and a. By the way, how good was that voice modulator? I thought it was fucking
good,
amazing.
I have my little Kylo Ren bobblehead here.
I almost got a Kylo Ren plushie at the store, but it was just like it wasn't that great. I was like, I'm sure there's better ones I could find or whatever.
I already showed Kevin, but he's on the thumbnail for this episode.
So in that sense, I think that they can afford to go a little crazier now, especially because, like I said, they have multiple lines going. Right. So it's like they're gonna have like the Han Solo prequel movie, the Boba Fett prequel movie, perhaps an Obi-Wan movie that they're rumored to be courting Ewan McGregor for, which, by the way, I'm not opposed to, because I think he was a great casting for that role. It was just a bad move. Like, he could only, did the best with the fucking garbage he was given.
When he actually did Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, especially for Revenge of the Sith, he actually studied Alec Guinness's performance.
Alec Guinness, founder of Guinness Beer and Guinness World Records, obviously.
Exactly.
He actually, very funny, he actually studied Alec Guinness's performance in the first two movies, particularly A New Hope, which is where he was in the most, and actually copied how he spoke and his different physical mannerisms, like the rubbing of the chin, specifically.
Yeah.
And
I think
the certain pentameter of how he spoke.
So, guys, I think I have to use the bathroom, so I think we're gonna take a We're gonna take a quick break here, and the show will return soon. You're listening to the Baka Gaijin Show.
BRB.
And now we're on break. Bring me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Did you know in Japan, Kit Kat bars are popular because it is transliterated as Kitsukatsu, which means you will succeed. It is customary to give Kit Kat bars to people who have job interviews or final exams to wish them good luck. This was a very beneficiary coincidence for the Kit Kat Corporation. Corporation with a K. I'm going to use the bathroom. Be right back.
Wiggles wobble, wiggles wobble, wiggles wobble, but they don't fall down.
A little poem to bring us back in.
Little mnemonic device. I'm still pissed they added a female wiggle.
I've never watched.
It totally ruins my homosexual, polygamous representation.
Well, you'll always have the Teletubbies.
It's true. No, some of them are girls, I think.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think so.
I don't know.
Maybe they're a species that doesn't have genders. A
Maybe.
species without genders? What is Tumblr to complain about?
The fact that it has no.
Yeah, exactly. In the absence of anything to complain about, just make something up.
Yeah, no, you complain about the absence.
Yeah, rule of Tumblr.
Exactly. I like that. Tumblr's law. In the absence of anything to complain about the absence. It's very good. Wait, where are we? How does this work? Are we back live? Or are we not?
Yeah,
back
no, we're still live. Just this is the break. So, if I ever do an MP3 version, I'll cut this part out.
So I started a Japanese class.
I did that once.
And
Yeah.
And this girl in my class is like telling it was the first class or whatever, and she's talking to the teacher or whatever and about what anime she likes and stuff, and she's this like youngish girl, and like,
Yep.
yeah, I like shit. So the teacher turns to me, he's like, so do you watch anime too? Like, yeah. And I was wearing a suit, like a full suit, because I had a thing at work where I had to like, I went to some meeting or whatever, so I showed up to the class with like a full suit, and I'm like, yes, I watch Chinese cartoons.
What do you do?
I work for a nonprofit. I'm a translator.
Oh, all right. And you go what?
I do from Hebrew into English.
Oh, okay. That was my first guess.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of like a language person. Like I'm very fascinated with languages in general.
Right. You're merely more than an interpreter.
Well, there isn't a lot of interpreting to do in from Hebrew to English, because unlike, say, Russian or Chinese or Japanese, like anybody in Israel who would require an interpreter speaks English well enough on their own. Like it's taught all through school. Like an English fluency rate is very, very high there.
Yep.
So if you're some kind of like businessman or a politician, you know English. Like you don't need it. Whereas like in Russia, you'll have these oligarchs, or in China or whatever, who don't speak a word of English but need it or whatever.
I still like to imagine the people in charge of China are the eunuchs from Code Geass.
Yeah. Is Kevin back?
Oh no, are you? Nope.
Guess not. I'm gonna go back to. I've been watching a bunch of Korean movies lately.
Yeah.
Big fan.
What was that one? The good, the bad, and the heavy.
And the weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I watched this movie yesterday called I Saw the Devil, and it's fucking great.
We did a segment about Korea last episode, actually.
Oh, really? They have. I really enjoy Korean movies,
Yeah.
especially like sort of thrillers and. Yeah, this movie I Saw the Devil. It's about it's with the guy from Old Boy, the guy who plays the main guy in Old Boy.
Yeah.
He's the villain in this movie,
Mhm.
and he's this like complete psycho serial killer who kills this woman, and then her husband, who's like a secret agent, goes insane and decides to like torture and murder him, and it turns into this like crazy like kind of game of wills or whatever, and it's violent to the point of being like upsetting at some points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really really good.
You like Korean food?
Yeah, I've been turned on to Korean barbecue since moving to the DC area. I've been out a couple of times. When I went to see Star Wars last Saturday, I went to like an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue place because Northern Virginia apparently has a big Korean population.
Apologies, I needed to take my dog out.
Okay. So yeah,
let the dogs out!
so yeah, I'm now hooked on Korean barbecue.
I remember when that fucking song was the coolest shit on the block.
Ugh.
Right up there with Smash Mouth.
Yeah, and what about
Somebody once told me.
what about the
I swear to God,
song? Remember?
Oh,
Cisco?
I'm sorry, but if one of those two songs, Who Let the Dogs Out and All Star, if one of those is not the ending theme to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4, I'm going to be disappointed.
Isn't it? They're way too new. No.
Yeah.
Well, it takes place in the 90s.
Kevin, I gotta tell you,
Oh, okay.
one of my favorite jokes on a recent episode of Game Grumps is there are these enemies in Bloodborne called Living Failures, and Danny's like, Living Failures? I didn't know Smash Mouth was in this game.
Hey yo. All right, let's go. Let's do it.
All right, Kevin, pull up the thing. We're reading it.
Oh, what is this thing we're reading?
Oh, I'll give it to you. You can play the miscellaneous female roles. I was gonna have Jorge do that, but he bailed.
Link it to me or something.
It's in the DM history. Fucking do it yourself.
Alright, let me scroll. Apologies.
I'll put it in the Hangout chat.
Apologies if I'm quiet.
Is the second segment of the show now always like a creative reading of something? We did this last time too.
We just want to do this because it's fucking hilarious.
God,
have you seen Neon? Have you seen that? It's in the DMs. Just look.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. It's the origin. Have you seen the 5-7 meme?
Mm-mm. No.
It's the origin of the perfect score 5 out of 7 meme, and it's great.
I can't find it. I can't find it.
All right, I put it in the Hangout chat.
It's in the chat box.
All right.
All right. Oh my gosh.
So wait, you go live so we can at least like.
Yeah, we are live. We are live.
Oh, we are live, huh? We're back.
All right.
And we're back.
Well,
Right. I'm sorry. I just remembered. I can't fucking see the Hangouts chat because this app goddamn sucks.
Oh, okay. I'll just send it via DM again.
So yeah, I guess Star Wars. Then we're excited about the next one, I guess.
Yeah. Hold on. I haven't started the next segment yet. When I do that, Kevin and I are going to do this reading, and then we're going to talk more about Star Wars.
Oh, you want to do that? I thought we were going to just finish Star Wars and then do that or whatever. Okay, cool.
No. There's no Star Wars to talk about.
Who am I playing?
The miscellaneous females. You'll be like
So
Kathy.
anyone who's not Brendan Sullivan or Robert Graves is me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Robert Graves. He's going to be Brendan Sullivan.
Okay, I'm going to be
I'm going
Kathy
to be the
Miller.
bigot.
Is there anyone other than Kathy Miller? Oh, it's Sarah Marie. I see. Okay.
Yeah. There might be one more, I think. Oh, yeah, there's Nathan Pierce, too.
Oh, Nathan Pierce. Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay. I'm going to start the second segment, and then we'll do it, Kevin.
Alright, fine.
And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Baka Gaijin Show Star Wars Edition. We're going to take a brief break from Star Wars. Kevin and I have some dramatic reading to do because this is just too good to pass up.
Yeah, you should call a segment you like to call Baka Gaijin Theater. Got to put in a little little music.
Right, it's like Danganronpa. Like between every chapter, you have Monokuma Theater where he just spouts nonsense for 10 minutes.
No, I thought it more like somebody with a smoking jacket, like "Welcome again."
Oh, it's like that old kids show, Crashbox. You know,
I don't know.
has anyone ever seen Crashbox? Kevin, you have not seen Crashbox.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Your reference is lost on us.
Okay, well we're just
Alas.
gonna get going here. This is a series of Facebook posts that is the origin of the perfect score 5-7 meme. The part of Brendan Sullivan will be played by Kevin Faulkner. The part of Robert Graves will be played by me, Zeke Freak. Miscellaneous parts will be played by Neontaster.
Who will do awful voices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put some effort into it, Kevin. Here we go.
Can all my guys have weird regional accents?
Sure.
Okay, because this is some bigoted thing, I'm gonna try to do a Deep South sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't get gay marriage. 2 men doing that is just wrong.
What's there to get? It's just a couple of fellas having a go at each other.
It goes against God, not something you need to understand.
You're right. It's not something I'd understand. If I were discussing this with anyone else, I would bring up the argument that your personal religious belief should not affect the true love of 2 other people, but then I remember that you have the emotional range of a watercress sandwich, and you are totally indifferent to the feelings and lives of others, so I won't bother.
What the fuck do you mean by that, you fag?
Nothing. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Guess who's going to Paris this summer?
Watch out for the ragheads while you're there.
Also be on the lookout for xenophobic inbred loony biscuits who will haunt your Facebook page with their inane comments.
Is it just me, or does The Martian look dumb? Maybe like a Netflix movie or something. How would he live on Mars for so long? Stupid.
The book actually goes quite in depth as to how one would go about surviving on Mars for such a long period of time, based on math and the protagonist's background in botany. It's a good read.
But how can he live if there's no sound in space?
Your train of thought is stalled at the station as always, Brendan.
Ha ha ha, poor Brendan.
My train of thought isn't stalled, you fucking fag. I just asked a simple question. Now, are you going to answer it or not?
Very well. Although there is indeed no sound in space, as you so eloquently observed, there are miraculous devices that have been invented to allow humans to live and breathe in harsh environments, such as the Martian surface. These devices do not depend at all on whether or not sound can be transferred through the void of space. I see you are a simple man and of delicate constitution, so I thought it might clear that up for you.
Suck my dick, you fag. That's not at all what I said. I said the movie was unrealistic because no one could live on Mars for any period of time without things we need like sound or food or water. Get it now?
Much in the way sound cannot travel in space because it is a void, thoughts cannot travel in Brendan's head.
Fucking immigrants coming in from Iraq and Syria. Stick them in Arizona if they like the desert so much. Or better yet, send them back where they came from.
Your comment suggests that your family has a rich background in biodiversity.
Fight Club, 5 out of 7 movie.
5 out of 7? I must say this is a grading scale like no other I've seen before.
Shut the fuck up, Rob. I like the movie. I just thought it was dark and mysterious, almost as good as The Dark Knight.
Yes, I don't think we'll ever soon forget The Dark Knight, the masterful superhero film by Christopher Nolan. If you don't get the joke, he spelt it without the K.
Yes.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? Whatever, I don't care. The point is, I liked Fight Club, and I would give it a perfect score.
Sullivan's theorem. In film reviewing situations, the integer 5 is roughly equivalent to the integer 7. Note this is not applicable in other scenarios.
Why do you do this on every single status I post?
Well-
Seriously.
Well, you make it so easy.
5 days until Krampus comes out. Excited to see this one.
So, a week?
I fucking hate you.
Love the way the rain smells.
It's about time it rained. The whole state is going to turn into Mad Max if we don't get some moisture in the air soon.
I like the rain too.
What are your thoughts on Mad Max, Brendan?
I like the new movie, but not the old ones.
Really? Because I thought the second one was a solid 5 out of 7.
Not this again.
Mighty Python and the Holy Grail. Worst film I've ever seen.
Yes, Mighty Python was certainly a mighty group of comedic titans. Mighty fine post, Brendan.
Rob, shut the fuck up. You've been way too hard on Brendan recently. Stop it or I will block you.
Sarah, stay out of this or I'll slap you with my Mighty Python.
Mass shooting at Planned Parenthood. Of course, Obama's using it as an excuse for taking away our guns.
You do realize that people died, right? Is now really the time to complain about stricter gun regulations that may prevent such things from happening?
Yes, people died. That is not the issue. I'm talking about gun control, so please stay on topic.
Do you understand how insensitive you sound? How your personal opinion is somehow more important than the lives of innocent people?
To the point, though, is that the government will use this as an excuse to take away guns. Americans need to join together and vote to make sure that doesn't happen.
Who are you voting for, Brendan?
I'm a proud supporter of Donald Trump.
I rest my case.
Should marijuana be legal? Discuss.
No.
I personally say yes, but I see why people would disagree. Let's keep it civil here, guys. Smiley face.
I'm surprised you'd say no, Brendan. Isn't polluting my body with the devil's lettuce my right as a free American?
No, because it's not legal and therefore is not your right.
Well, that's not really what we're discussing here. We're talking about whether or not it should be legal, not whether or not it is. And as I said, it should be my right, not that it is my right. See the difference?
No, because it is not your right to break the law.
Come on, Brendan. Christ.
Brendan, are you high right now?
It is my patriotic duty as an American to uphold the law.
And it is my patriotic duty as an internet user to tell you that you're a hopeless cretin. There's a see more there. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's more.
Yeah.
I just saw Toy Story 3. Not a big fan. Pixar's starting to really suck. Did not like the ending at all. Toy Story 3 was better.
And I wasn't really a big fan of the first Batman movie. Batman Begins was better.
Batman Begins was the first Batman movie.
As opposed to Toy Story 3, which, as we all know, was the second Toy Story movie.
Fuck you, Rob. I'm at Toy Story 2, not Toy Story 3. It was obvious, so just stop it.
I personally would award Toy Story 3 a perfect 5 out of 7.
Bought a new armor for my bedroom on Craigslist today.
Cool. It'll go well with your guillotine and feudalistic ideologies.
What the fuck are you talking about?
LOL, Brendan.
My mistake. I thought given the first word in Brendan's post in his reference to medieval garments, he was challenging me to another proverbial bout of internet witticisms. I see that I was incorrect.
It's a fucking armor, dude. I don't know how to fucking spell it, so just lay off.
Brendan, do you mean an armoire? Like a wardrobe?
I, for one, keep all my chainmail safely inside my armoire where it belongs.
Can't believe Kim Davis' story has disappeared. She stood up for what she believed in, but now gay Mariag, he misspelled it, he forgot the E. Gay Mariag has been forced upon this great nation.
This is at least the 5th status you've made about gay marriage. Why do you care so much? Worrying about what a couple of gay dudes do in the privacy of their own home is about the gayest thing for a guy to do.
What the fuck are you implying? I'm 100% straight.
You're a narrow sea passage connecting two large bodies of water.
You're not even making any sense now. Just stop talking before you embarrass yourself.
Brendan, he's saying you used the wrong straight, as in with a GH.
No, I did not, because spell check recognizes it. You can spell it either way.
Don't even bother, Tim. It goes straight through one ear and out the other with old Brendan.
My niece turns 17 today. Lots of love, Emily.
Special age, congrats.
Happy 15th birthday, Emily.
Rob, for the last fucking time, shut up with the 5 = 7 bullshit. I'm fucking done with it. I will report it.
Kathy, have you considered getting Emily a nice armor for her big day?
I fucking hate you. Going bungee jumping this weekend. Can't wait.
Have fun.
Natural selection, do your stuff.
Rob has been a giant pain in the ass recently. As I'm sure y'all know, lol. People have been messaging me saying I should block him, but if I block him, he wins. I need to show him that I don't care about his child comments.
Ah, I see. You don't care. That's why you made an entire status about it. Gotcha.
Brendan, just block him. Rob, stop it.
Why are you doing this?
Because I and everyone else who knows you has had to put up with your idiocy on our feeds for far too long. Someone had to call you out on it. A silent protector, a watchful guardian, a dark knight.
You are so fucking obnoxious.
Remember, Brendan, if you block me, the terrorists win.
And see.
And that's it.
That was great.
Sorry, but
You
the
think
only
that's
way I
real?
was the only way I was able to actually say any of that crap is if I did a Deep South intro.
That was a very funny. It wasn't even a Deep South. That was like a. That was
a very weird interpretation of Goofy you just did.
It was very funny. But is that real? I mean, it's almost too perfect to be.
It's
I've been led to believe it is.
Who knows?
At this point, I believe such.
What smells like a matchbox?
Huh?
Something in my apartment smells like a matchbox. Oh, okay.
Clearly,
the
it's Brendan's
matchbox.
brain going overtime.
Oh no, sorry. It's just the matchbox right in front of my goddamn nose.
So that was great.
Yes.
Just a
very-
little,
Apparently, I'm as dumb as Brendan.
What's that smoke smell? What's your brain working overtime, trying to process witticisms? Ah,
All right.
Very good.
So I guess we can
back to Star Wars.
Yeah, I
after a
can-
little intermission here.
give some.
So I had the second thing that was my second problem with it,
Ah, yes.
but I'm gonna wait till Kevin gets back because, you know,
Okay.
he's kind of
I mean,
he's kind of the co-host.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean,
Anyway.
Oh, there you
What?
Okay, there he is. Okay, we're gonna go on to the second problem I had with it.
All right.
And by that I mean Star Wars and not Brendan Sullivan.
go. Feminist propaganda.
Yes. Force Awakens, very good. Solid 5 out of 7 movie.
Oh, I should also mention that he spelled obnoxious with a K.
It was very funny. There's a bunch of like spelling errors there that are hard to convey.
I tried to pronounce it as obnoxious.
Obnoxious. Obnoxious.
Right. So, back to talking about Star Wars, because that's the topic of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The second big problem I have with this film is a problem a lot of people have, and some people take it too far. I'm not denying that. I have a problem with Kylo Ren getting Worfed in his own debut movie.
Wait, Worfed?
It's called the Worf effect, where the most powerful character, a person who's supposed to be the most powerful character, is completely tossed around like a rag doll in order to showcase another character's strength.
Okay. Although that's not what happened, though.
Well, he's exaggerating a little, but, you know, it's just a general term for it.
I mean, so...
I only put it in that exaggerated way because that is the only way it was represented in Next
Sure.
Generation.
So
Right, yeah.
here's my this goes back to something I said earlier, where that in that a lot of things that happen in this movie will succeed or fail based on whether or not they're setting up something that pays off.
Yeah, it's definitely a wait and see thing.
Because, yeah.
But at the moment, with what we have now, which is all I can criticize, and I criticize because I care.
Well, of course.
What I'm trying to say here is that let's talk about Rey for a second, because I feel like we haven't been talking enough about characters.
Okay.
I like Rey on paper. I'm not sure I'm liking the way she's being handled. Specifically, being a Master Force user after 10 minutes.
Okay, so let's get into this for a second. The whole Max Landis Mary Sue thing went way overboard. And again, I don't agree that she's a Mary Sue. I'll get at that in a second. But
I'm not saying she is either. I'm saying
no, hold on.
She's borderline.
Okay, so the thing that I will complain about is that she is very proficient in everything.
Yes.
Again, this could be easily explained because she's a scavenger. She lives on she
Kevin, do me a favor and look up the Mary Sue qualifications on TV tropes.
Nah, I'm not.
I don't want to go through it. I just want to. Okay, I'll do it. I just want to have it in front of me.
Okay, so I don't agree that she didn't face any adversity or wasn't in any noticeable danger in it. I don't agree with at all. I do think that this is a problem in all movies, by the way. Again, this was also true for Star Trek, but I think this is a bit of a problem in movies nowadays in general, is that writers and directors have a very hard time having their protagonist not be able to do shit.
Right.
Yeah, it's very much... They like having their characters be the ace. A character who's very resourceful, can do a lot of cool shit.
Right.
It's very hard for them to make their character vulnerable because they want to make a badass. And I
do think it would have worked better if they had complementary skills, like whereas if Rey could do all this stuff but was very poor in combat, for instance, and then for that Finn would then be the counterpart who knows combat where he doesn't know something else. Yeah, I think that would have maybe made the dynamic slightly more interesting. But about Kylo Ren, the thing I really liked about Kylo Ren is the fact that just in the same sense that our protagonists are not yet in their final form.
It's not even their final form.
Exactly. Thus,
only 1% of my power.
Thus,
this
he wasn't
is my fourth
either.
and final form.
And I think I think the movie actually has a really interesting arc with him, whereas in the beginning, he's at the peak of his sort of ability, and he regresses throughout the movie because of this new this new sort of situation that arises. Like he's trying to find Luke Skywalker. Things are coming to a head, and now shit starts to get fucked up.
Right.
And there's the whole issue of the betrayal, Finn's betrayal. Then Rey comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Things start
spoiler.
to get messed up. Yeah. His father.
Spoiler: Han Solo is Kylo Ren's daddy.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
By the way, I love how they introduced this. I love that it wasn't like a Luke, I am your father moment. It was stated very early on. It was even before that. Like one of the very first things is Max von Sydow says, like, I know where you came from. You know, you weren't always evil or whatever. And so, like, even
here's the thing is that at first that scene didn't work for me because I thought they were going to do a big reveal thing. So I'm like, well, that's laying it on pretty damn thick. But since they weren't doing that, I was more okay with it.
Sure. And then Kylo Ren slowly becomes less able to control himself. A thing that we've always had is Sith who are very composed and very in control.
Well, here's the thing. One thing that I find interesting is that they're not really referred to as Sith here. They're just sort of dark side users.
Sure, whatever. Dark Jedi or whatever.
Knight of Ren, whatever.
They even said like even Mas Kanata said the Sith, the Empire, and now the New Order. Like she put them in like 3 distinct categories. It's like she even didn't consider Darth Vader to be a Sith technically.
Yeah.
Although she could have even been referring to like Sith of like the ancient times, like Plagueis and his predecessors.
Yeah, like rule of 2, rule of 1, pre-Bane stuff. You know?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I like that we finally get a villain who is not composed, who is in turmoil. Again, many people have said this. This is what George Lucas kind of tried to do with Anakin and failed because he's not good
Thank you. Honestly, the entire time I was watching the movie, I was like, this is how Anakin Skywalker should have been written in the prequels.
Right, like this kind of really torn, like they really did him being torn in a very, very interesting way. And again, so as things get fucked up, so his ability to use the Force, becomes diminished or whatever. Now, as for Rey and her ability...
Well, wait, I want to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get the whole big fish, big fish, little pond, whatever the hell that's called.
Sure.
I get that he's never had to deal with actual opposition before, so that's how it goes. Kind of like Frieza, never had to train in his life. But, shut up, Kevin.
Hey, I see what you did there, man.
Yeah, but my issue is more of a very simple, almost pragmatic sort of. Ren should not have gotten his ass kicked that easily by someone who didn't know, who just learned the Force existed not even yesterday.
Okay, but here's the thing. He actually kind of doesn't. Because, again, I watched this again. And I think people are exaggerating, A, how
people
much
are going to
better he was than Finn, and B, he actually did not get his ass handed to him by Rey. He actually had her on the back foot the entire time. And then there's the scene where there's this big cave-in, and they're on the edge of the cliff, and she
has her awakening in the Force.
Well, so what happens is, I
see what you did there, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, this is something I didn't notice the first time.
Oh, hey! I actually did not intend that. Wow.
So here's something I had missed the first time and picked up on the second time. So they're pressed up against each other. She's almost falling off the cliff, and he says, come with me. I can train you. I can teach you how to use the Force. And then she says, the Force, and then kind of closes her eyes because what Maz Kanata told her. She said, you got to close your eyes and feel it, feel the light or whatever. And she refused to do that in Maz's palace. So then later when he says something about the Force, she's like, oh yeah, I need to try and do this. And that's the first time she kind of tries to focus seriously on it. And again, he notices instantly, there's the scene where he tries to break her mentally, and then she kind of fights back, and she's like, you're afraid. You're afraid you're never going to be it.
Yeah, she kind of feels...
And then...
It's a bit of a taste of your own medicine scene.
Well, and then Snoke, in the next scene, Snoke is like, she managed to break your hold on her, and he says, he fights back. By the way, I also like the dynamic between both Kylo Ren and Snoke, and Snoke and Hux.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's talk about Ren first.
Okay, it's less on his thing. No, but Ren barks back at him like she's stronger than she realizes or whatever. He's he's almost petulant. He's like, don't blame me. She's fucking strong.
I get all of this. I'm just saying, divorce it from the situation a bit and think about how cheap that feels from a writing standpoint.
So again, it depends. It depends because later you can find out that she's some fucking freak of nature in terms of Force use.
Oh, yes, but that's typical light novel protagonist bullshit.
Yeah.
If she wasn't a Star Wars protagonist, she was a light novel protagonist, nobody would ever let this shit fly.
So again, to me, this all depends on what happens. The thing I hope happens in the next movie is that it kind of parallels Rey's training with Luke to Ren completing his training, because at the end of Force Awakens, Snoke says to Hux,
it's time to complete.
Take Ren, yes.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Kylo Ren isn't a master. He's like the Sith Padawan or whatever.
I'm saying,
but I'm just saying, he's been trained since he was a boy. He was Luke's He was like one of Luke's students originally. He's been trained in the Force for years.
Right,
He
but-
should be better at it than someone who just learned about it 10 minutes ago.
I know, I disagree because his whole transition to the dark side introduces this like sort of imbalance to his ability. I think if he remained like a light side Force user his entire life, you would have been right.
It's very important to understand that the light side and the dark side are fundamentally different within the world of Star Wars. They are yin and yang.
Yes.
So
it's not like just, we're using
But-
the same magic, but I'm using it for good and you're using it for bad. There's like, it has different characteristics
Yes, there's
to
different
it.
ideologies and all that. My problem is the way he's portrayed here is not that ideology, because this is more of a very... It's not Jedi, and it's not Sith, and that's probably the point, but he's trying to be one, so why isn't it? Or at least a little bit.
So again,
No,
I want to see. I'm very interested in seeing what the point of this is. Like, because again, if it would be very interesting to me if now in the next movie, like Rey trains with Luke and she comes back and she's this kick-ass Jedi or whatever, and then she gets her ass completely handed to her.
That sounds cool. But what
I
I'm
mean,
saying,
I'm
saying though is that
should happen.
what I'm saying though is like there's only so much you can what's the word, breadcrumb the audience. I understand J.J. Abrams' whole mystery box theory of writing films, and I do that a lot in my writing too. But the thing is, you can't. It's kind of cheap to do things like this and then say, "Oh, I'll explain all of this later." Like,
yes and no, because go back to my Lord of the Rings analogy, where if you had only seen Fellowship, you'd be like, "What the fuck's going on here? Who are these people?" But nobody ever says that because everybody knows that that's a completed story. There's
I
and
think
again,
there's
this
less
goes
of
back
that
to my
though.
comment
I
about-
think Fellowship is way more straightforward than this.
Well, again, this goes back to my comment about episodic blogging. Like, I think that in the end, looking back on this trilogy when it's complete, will be because again, A New Hope. A big difference between this and A New Hope was A New Hope was made as a standalone movie. The end. It was
Right.
never planned to be more than
Yeah.
that. It was later retconned. If you watch it, Darth Vader changes a lot between A New Hope and Empire.
Yes, very much.
He's just some
He's a
strong.
goofy guy in a mask.
he's literally
He's
in A New
important.
Hope for 20 minutes.
And also, like, and when they take Leia to the Death Star, she's like, "Oh, Tarkin, I'm not surprised to see you holding Vader's leash." It's like, and then later he's fucking space Jesus, as Plinkett says.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like he's almost like Jaws, like the Bond villain. I mean, whereas
Right.
Tarkin in it is more like the Blofeld, and Vader's just his like muscle who goes around fucking, busting heads and shit. Then later he's this fucking, he's a wizard and he's Luke's father, which he isn't. By the way, Anakin Skywalker is not Darth Vader in A New Hope. Like that's sort of clear to me if you just watch
Yeah.
that. Mm.
But
He
it's
just says
but
Darth Vader killed your father. That's all.
But remember, what he said was true from a certain point of view.
Well, no. Again, I think it's actually a very clever retconning.
Mhm.
Where he
Very,
goes
very
like, Darth Vader killed, your father
Yeah.
or whatever.
I'm not going to doubt any of this, and of course I'm going to have a different opinion when the next film comes out and when it's completed and all that. Of course that's going to change. But I don't think you can blame me for seeing these things that don't make sense because they haven't explained why they do,
Oh,
or
definitely,
even if
definitely.
they do. And I'm going
I
like,
totally understand.
So yeah, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I think at the end of the day, the bottom line for me was really, since it was so fun and exciting and the characters were so endearing, that a lot of that stuff just went completely over my head. Like, again, when you point it out, it's like, sure, of course that's true. But I think that goes to the point that, like, it really is important for a movie to be likable more than it is to be logical.
I disagree.
Really? I think certain movies, again, because again, there was an article in Wired about why Starkiller Base makes no sense because the mass increases exponentially and it would make the gravity. And I was like,
No, I'm not saying like in a hard sci-fi sort of way.
Sure.
I'm saying you need to be consistently logical with the universe, not necessarily with reality.
Yeah.
I don't think it's inconsistent because it's already this sort of nebulous. It's not like I'm trying to find.
Okay, don't try to tell Star Wars fans that Star Wars' mythos is nebulous because that's.
Well, again, forget EU because I don't know EU.
Well, I'm not even talking about EU here. I'm just talking about just the overall universe and mythos. You can't just say this doesn't matter that they changed all these things.
No, again, I don't think. Like I said, I don't think that they changed it. I don't think that there was ever never an established form to the Force, like, oh, you have to train for this many years to use it very well, and you need. Because
everyone's different, but you have to train a bit. You have to.
Well, but again, what did Luke do that he trained? Well,
first of all, by the Return of the Jedi, he trained off screen for years. So.
No, but that's later. I'm talking about even by the beginning of Empire.
But he didn't fight Vader in New Hope. He didn't do much of anything but pilot, and he already knew how to do that.
But he was also not a like hand-to-hand combat kind of person. Again, it depends on what you're.
And then when he does fight in Empire, he loses. So and rather handily. I didn't do that.
But again, first of all, I think that Rey is already a more capable character than Luke from the get-go, because he just grew up as like a farm boy or whatever. So he had some technical know-how, he knew how to pilot and stuff. She grew up on her own.
That's another issue I have, where sort of we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to amp the stakes. Instead of growing up on a rock in the middle of nowhere, she grows up on a rock in the middle of nowhere alone. And instead of a device that could destroy a planet, we're going to have a device that can destroy multiple planets at the same time.
That part at least makes sense, because even the second Death Star was a lot bigger than the first one. The fact that they're
I get it, but it's the same kind of making it bigger and more quote unquote epic doesn't make it different.
Sure. Bigger isn't always better, as he says. But
size doesn't matter.
But like I said, I
see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
You know that they're now talking about making a new Spaceballs?
Mm-hmm.
No.
My sister's cousin's roommate's ex-neighbor. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing. So like I said, I always felt that the mythos of the Force was kind of weird enough for that to not bother me. Especially if later it comes out that because again, there's all kinds of theories about what the deal is with Rey and who she is and how she's connected to the story. Is she Obi-Wan's granddaughter? Is she fucking Luke's daughter? Is she maybe?
Well, I think people tend to People really didn't like the super science approach the prequels did to the Force. So they attached themselves to the original's portrayal. It's now it's all mysticism. And it wasn't all mysticism. It was definitely more mystical than the prequels made it out to be. But it required training. It required practice. It was a set of skills.
But again, what did she do? She did a
specific set of skills.
She did a half-assed mind trick. Okay.
Which worked.
Sure, but again, it took her a bunch of tries.
In the span of 2 minutes.
Again, that's the thing is your to me that is nitpicking it in a way that's unfair, because they could have had 6 scenes of her doing it for hours and hours and hours, but what's the fun of that? How in the Plinkett review of Star Trek.
Well, no, because you don't have to do that. Luke trained mostly off screen, but here's another example. At the very end where they fly to Luke's planet. They're how long does this take? Because you see them going to hyperspace, and then you see them dumping out of hyperspace. But I'm just any one of the camera cuts in that part could have been 16 hours later. It doesn't matter
how long it takes them to fly there.
But it clearly wasn't here.
So I'm saying the point was that she was like, she had clearly heard of all this stuff. She heard of the myth of the Jedi and the rebellion. And so
that doesn't mean that you can be a Jedi. That just means you've heard of them.
No, but again,
let me say something.
Yeah.
Sure, you're the co-host.
I've always kind of viewed, just to interject into this, the Force has always been a bit of a vague sort of power, and it makes it.
It's like, not as vague as people make it.
Hold on.
I'm holding.
It is vague, but like Zeke also said, it is also a very particular set of skills. If you'll pardon reference.
Yep.
It is a very particular set of skills, but I think it's also important to realize that just like many skills in real life, some people are more attuned to it than others, and they can pick it up much faster.
That doesn't make it good writing, Kevin.
Even with far less
some people have perfect
training.
Pitch. Some people have perfect pitch, and some people can develop perfect pitch.
That doesn't mean that it makes for good writing, Kevin. Here's the thing: Anakin was also a Force prodigy. He also had immense amounts of Force in him.
Hold on.
You didn't see 9-year-old Anakin fucking doing the things that Rey does in this movie, because that requires practice and training. It requires actually learning.
The big difference is that the environment that Anakin grew up in and how we saw him develop in that film did not corroborate with his growth. In Force Awakens, Rey's background as a scavenger, having to do all this shit on her own, and perhaps having maybe a blood relation to Luke Skywalker or someone else with the Force, actually does corroborate with her growth in the film.
Also, and consider this: if Kylo Ren isn't badly injured by the time he fights Rey, she's not winning. If
I don't know, that sounds like inference.
No, it isn't. Because he's clearly badly injured in that scene.
She cut off his leg.
No, I don't think she cut off his leg. I didn't see any limb loss.
Well,
but he gets shot by the Chewbacca, whatever it's called, the bowcaster.
I think he got like an arrow in the gut and like a scar on the face.
Yeah, he gets slashed in the face. He gets slashed in the shoulder. But Finn hurts him too.
Limbs intact.
And got pretty badly fucked up as it was.
Again, the Force stuff that she does to me is fine. Is fine. You can even argue that when she touched the lightsaber, that kind of jump started something. There's also a bunch of theories about. One theory that there's a whole like mind wipe theory about whether or not she was actually trained and then had her memories erased. Or something like that. There's a lot of that shit.
You mentioned you mentioned when she actually touched the lightsaber. I actually looked this up, and when I saw the movie for the second time, I actually did hear it. When it goes through that sequence of events with all these flashbacks to Luke Skywalker and the Knights of Ren and whatever, you actually hear the voice of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. He recorded new lines.
And also
saying something along the lines of, Rey, these are the first steps.
And also, by the way, you know that you also hear Alec Guinness Yoda in that scene.
Yeah, and you also hear Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
It does make sense.
I think that was like right before I went to the bathroom, actually.
Yeah, yeah. That scene actually does. It's entirely possible that it jump-started her connection to the Force.
Maybe, but that's another example of wait and see. And I'm just saying, what was presented to me in this film was not satisfactory from like a lore perspective.
I don't agree because again, it's not. You don't have enough examples of this happening to say that the lore is definitely like this.
Yeah, I disagree.
But that's also the problem. The fact that it's unprecedented is part of the problem.
But why? Because again, you have two other examples of people being initiated into the Force. You have only two examples of this. Like, I'm talking, again, in the things that are canonical right now.
Right.
You have Anakin, who is, again, a 9-year-old child, and then after that, you didn't see anything. We don't know if 2 days in, he was doing fucking crazy shit, and people were like, "Holy crap!" because his midi-chlorians are off the chart or whatever. Like we just don't, we didn't see that. We didn't know how. We don't know how quickly he picked up on that shit. And Luke,
the best we get is, let's try rolling. That's a good trick.
and Luke,
it was spinning, you nerd.
And Luke,
Whatever. I don't fucking give a shit.
Luke was never said to be an extraordinary Force user. He just was a Force user. So, again, the fact that something unprecedented happened here is to me not a... Because, again,
No. Here's the thing. Unprecedented is fine. It has to be presented the right way, and more importantly, it has to be explained so that it becomes a precedence.
If it didn't do it
so
for
again,
you, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely get where you're coming from, Zeke. I do.
Now, let me ask you this.
But
if in the next movie there's a scene where fucking Rey and Luke are training on whatever island that is, and she asks him, like, if there's a whole, like, explanation of this, will that then seem less awkward to you? It's just a hypothetical question.
Depends on the explanation.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you could say, "Oh yeah, you're literally Space Jesus," but
it's just a you gotta. It's the way I don't. It's just a way I don't like things to set off on this foot. This sort of like you need.
Okay, that's fair, and like you said, that's why I totally agree with your.
I think the main reason why you have an issue with it is because there's so many ways you can fuck it up from this point.
That's very true, and that's why I said I agree with Zeke's fear that she could become Mary Sue-ish, and
I'm not denying that at all.
Yeah, and that's a big part of this, because again, if she's this like freak of nature Force user, then what do we do to create legit adversity for her, as opposed to her just being this overpowered, for her being fucking Shiba Tatsuya and having nothing ever come close to being a problem for her to deal with.
It might be because the awakening happened so late in the film that she doesn't feel like that here. If she had that throughout the entire film, we might be having a different conversation now if she was written the same way.
Well, she is very capable.
True.
She's very much on top of shit the whole time. It's not that she's this... Because Luke kind of gets tossed around. She
bypassed the compressor on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, she beat up 2 guys. She's this kind of rough and tumble. I like that whole stop grabbing my hand scene.
Yeah, that whole thing was stop grabbing my hand.
I thought that was pretty funny because like she's this loner. She didn't even want BB-8 to come with her.
No, I get it. And what I'm saying is that all that character stuff and all that corroboration to her effectiveness in the film, that all made complete and total sense, and it was very well done up until the point where she awakened, where the Force did awaken, as the title did predict.
So yeah, like I said, to me it would be very interesting, and like I said, it's extremely important for them to create believable adversity if she's this powerful.
Right.
Or
like I said,
if Luke later says like, that was me operating the Force through you, or some shit like that.
Yeah. Well.
I mean,
that's great.
Again, I don't mind. Here's the thing. I don't mind.
Dance, puppet, dance.
I don't mind, or like amplifying it or whatever. Because again, Luke's lightsaber now apparently has some kind of new properties. That whole Force flashback thing was something we've never seen before, and
I've seen that before, where like different like memories and like Force leaves traces on objects and stuff like that. I've seen that kind of stuff.
Okay, I like that. The whole like, this is your father's lightsaber. He murdered 30 children with it. I did a whole meme.
So glad that did not get picked up on
animals.
No, but I did a meme where you see like Rey like reach, because I found the 2 shots of Rey holding the lightsaber out and Luke's face. So like it's that, and then the Luke picture has the text, and it says like, "Oh man, why couldn't you bring the green one? I always liked the green one better. Also, nobody ever used it to murder children."
That we
I
know
liked
of.
that.
That we
I
know
liked.
of. It's been a long 35 years.
I
Who
really,
knows?
I really liked that one, but I dare not retweet it because spoilers.
Right.
Oh well, I mean, come on, it's been long enough. I did also.
Yeah, we've waited forever to do this episode, Kevin.
Yeah, I think it's.
Did a shut up.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, people gotta understand that we're gonna have to eventually get to the talking about it out in the open or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm very happy that Star Wars is fun again. More than anything, I had fun. I just had fun. It was and I'm optimistic that it's not going to just be a rehash. I think Rian Johnson's a pretty interesting filmmaker. Slightly more sort of offbeat than J.J. Abrams. And again, I think that Marvel have shown that if you take directors that have sort of distinct artistic voices
and then fire them and get someone else.
Well, no, the Edgar Wright thing. I mean, Ant-Man still was all right. It
wasn't Edgar Wright though.
Right, it wasn't Edgar Wright. But you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy was very James Gunn. I'm very happy that they hired Ryan Coogler to make Black Panther.
I know. I'm just saying I love Edgar Wright and I want him to make more movies. So the fact that he didn't get to finish that one upsets me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just apparently there was. By the way, that apparently the problem was Perlmutter, whatever his name is, and he's no longer part of Marvel. It's now Feige, who was more apt to let someone like Edgar Wright do whatever he wanted. But I think there's this recognition that let's take kind of younger directors who have a very distinct sort of voice and give them a little bit of room to play. And
when's Duncan Jones going to do a Marvel movie?
That's a good question. I mean, he's making, isn't he making Warcraft?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm looking forward to Warcraft.
Yeah.
It could possibly be the movie that makes video game movies viable again.
Other than Ratchet Clank.
Well, there's also the Michael Fassbender Assassin's Creed movie.
That is, I'm 100% convinced it's not going to work out.
No?
You can't. I'm the world's most knowledgeable Assassin's Creed fan. You can't. I just don't see a way you could do that. It's just too big a story.
Okay, I mean that's what they have fucking shared universes and shit for.
I know. I'm just saying. I have to see it. I have to
Sure, but I mean again, they're who's directing that one? Let me see.
I can't remember.
But so again, Rian Johnson, who apparently J.J. Abrams read the script that he wrote for Episode 8 and said it was so good that he's disappointed that he left.
Did he say it like James Franco? He's been like, it's so good.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, Assassin's Creed.
He just took a fucking bite out of the script. It's like, so good.
Justin Kurzel? I don't know who this is.
Very pulpy.
Oh, he's some Australian director.
Plenty of fiber.
He's some Australian director made it.
And
who made a bunch
is
of
that
movies
is that a hint of Black Ink number 3?
Did you use a number 2 pencil?
So yeah, we'll see what happens. And again, Rogue One, like I said, smaller movie, bunch of soldiers going up against a minor Empire figure.
Gareth Edwards.
What about him? Oh, he's making it. Yes, that's by the way another indie director who was given a big project. He made Godzilla after making this movie called Monsters, which is a small indie movie that's awesome. It's on Netflix. You should watch it.
Oh, speaking of, you just reminded me. They're doing that that FNAF movie with all the practical effects from the guy who did Monster House.
A what movie? What?
They're doing a Five Nights at Freddy's movie with all the practical effects and the guy who did Monster House.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
It is. It does sound interesting. I mean, apparently, because again, also practical effects. I hear Krampus is awesome, and it has a lot of that.
I hear it's a solid 5 out of 7.
So yeah, We'll see.
Yeah.
I guess that's the final verdict is
Yeah.
wait and see.
Yeah.
It was fun. I ordered the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I'm very very eager to see. I hope it's full of behind the scenes material.
I can't wait for the special editions.
Yeah, I know, right? Add more CGI stuff. Because to me, one of the best parts about the Lord of the Rings home releases was all of the behind the scenes.
Oh, I can't watch the theatrical cuts anymore.
No, only the extended cuts exist as far as
exactly. I need to sit there for 12 hours. That's how I roll.
Does it say? Let me see. Does it say what stuff is on the Blu-ray? Let me see.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find information because I have purchased this.
I should know what's in this.
Well, I mean it's on pre-order, obviously, but it's going to have deleted scenes. Let's see, featuring Maz. Oh yes, of course, we know there's a famous deleted scene with her. Let's see.
Was that Finn Poe makeout session scene?
I know that I saw there's already like there's
I just
Finn
wanna
Poe
say, okay.
shipping or whatever.
Before we wrap up the episode,
Mm-hmm.
what is everybody's all-time favorite scene from the movie?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because my personal favorite scene, it's just a very small character scene. It's when Poe and Finn reunite at the Resistance base,
Sure.
and Poe just runs up to Finn and goes, "Buddy," like calls him buddy. Hasn't even seen this guy for more than 20 minutes, and calls him buddy. I just thought that was a great character moment.
Also, in one of the reviews, that is a really great moment. And in one of the reviews I saw for this, someone said like these people literally were on screen together for like 5 minutes and knew each other for about 5 minutes, and then they reunite, and it's an exciting moment for them and for the audience.
I know, I loved it.
And he's like, how? And again, there's this urge to compare everything that happens in the prequels. I was like, when did that ever happen in the prequels? Where you're like, oh
grinned.
shit,
I
they're
just
both
grinned.
alive and they're friends now.
I grinned ear to ear when Finn and Poe reunite. I was just like, oh, that's so
What?
great.
You know what? It clearly illustrates the difference between that and what Plinkett was saying about that elevator scene at the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
Yes, where they're discussing the adventures that they had.
Anakin and
Fell into that nest of Gundocks.
We're given a minute in an elevator to establish that Obi-Wan and Anakin are friends. Notice how this is not achieved by how they act like friends, but through retelling experiences they've apparently had.
Right, and like the whole escape in the TIE fighter, where he's like, "What's your name?" He's like, FN 2187. He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, that's the only name I ever had." He goes, "FN, Finn. I'll call you Finn. Is that right?" He's like, "Yeah, Finn."
Well, that was
I
the
like
problem
that.
with the prequels, is that everything about Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship was contradictory to what we were told it was like.
Right, they never.
Which is something Clone Wars fixed, but you know.
Well, then, yeah, the whole backpedaling thing, where it's like, oh, he's a good guy now. He's gonna save the clone trooper.
He's gonna save the expendable clone trooper, one of billions, literally worthless.
Billions.
Although, again, Clone Wars fixed this too with all those clone personalities. They started treating them like regular soldiers and all that, but they learned they couldn't afford to do that. It was interesting.
Heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, Oscar Isaac is just such a fucking great. You should really watch Ex Machina if you haven't seen it.
I definitely should. I believe it's on Netflix.
No, isn't that the Christopher Bale movie?
What? No. What?
That's the one he lost 120 pounds for.
No, Christian, that's The Machinist.
Oh, I thought it was the Machinist.
Yeah, isn't Ex Machina on Netflix or something?
I don't think it is.
Is Apple Ex Machina?
Oh, right.
Netflix?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Yes,
yes,
exactly. Appleseed Ex Machina.
I think Appleseed Ex Machina's on Netflix. Yeah.
No, I have that on DVD, but.
So it's the story of Ex Machina. It's Oscar Isaac plays kind of like a Sergey Brin, Steve Jobs kind of recluse billionaire tech genius. And Domhnall Gleeson plays this, also like a computer expert or whatever, and Oscar Isaac invites him to his isolated mansion or whatever to be the human component in a Turing test for an AI that he's built.
That almost sounded like the premise for the Gift movie. For a second there.
The Gift.
Greater internet fuckwad theory?
Was that? No, not that. Was that? I can't remember what the fuck that movie was called. I saw one trailer for it. What was I gonna say though?
But yeah, Ex Machina. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone kind of thing. It's very weird.
Okay, Twilight Zone. I'm in.
Oh yeah. I mean, it really is. It's like a 2-hour.
Imagine you're going
Twilight
through
Zone.
the scary door.
And it's
Scary door.
And the music is weird, and the whole time you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like there's and Oscar Isaac again is fucking, he chews up the scenery, you know, like he's so good, man. He really is. Like he's gonna be a gigantic star.
You know, I haven't seen Appleseed Ex Machina in years. I wonder if that even holds up.
All right.
It does. It's a solid movie. Then again, I'm the guy who thinks that Final Fantasy Spirits Within is okay, but
Okay.
Speaking of CGI movies, I just watched the Captain Harlock CGI movie on Netflix. It's actually not bad.
Is he a sky captain in the land of tomorrow though?
No, he's a space pirate.
In the land of
immortal space pirate.
in the world of yesterday.
Miyuki Sawashiro's in it. She's good in it.
Huh, Kevin? Huh?
Huh.
Huh. Yeah.
It's not bad. Has some nice space battles.
Space battles.
All right, guys.
All right, I think
I think we
movie.
shoot this movie.
I'm sure we'll continually bring things about this movie up for the next year until the next one comes out.
Yeah, I mean, well, a year and a half because the next one's coming out in May. Because this one, it's actually interesting because originally it was going to be a 2-year gap, but this movie got pushed from the summer to Christmas, so now the next one's coming out in a year. I was
thinking Rogue One, but that too, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I'm really excited for Rogue One. Isn't that? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be like how they got the plans for the Death Star.
The first Death Star, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see. It's essentially going to be a heist movie in space.
Yeah, or like a war. Like I said, it's kind of. It sounds almost like it'll be a function kind of like how most World War II movies function, which is like, oh, here's a mission as part of a very big conflict.
Right. It's like how most Wolfenstein games begin.
Yeah, exactly. So 2017 is the year. We're going to have episode 8. We're going to have Ghost in the Shell, which is going to be terrible.
Oh my god.
With Scarlett Johansson.
I forgot that fucking thing was going to happen.
When are we getting
at least it's not that goddamn Akira movie with the racist director.
Ugh. Here's Rupert
Murdoch.
Grint? No, that's the guy who plays Ron Weasley.
In Harry Potter.
Yes, I know. I was just going to say
the guy who made a couple of Liam Neeson movies. So apparently he knows better than Katsuhiro Otomo.
Well, again, it's. I'll tell you what. The problem with making an Akira movie or making a Ghost in the Shell movie is that they're just going to be generic robot future, and Akira would just be like generic cyberpunk future movie. I mean, at least Akira has more of a, like, if they make an Akira movie, at least it'll probably have the same plot line as Akira. A Ghost in the Shell movie will undoubtedly not have the same plot as the Ghost in the Shell
really
movie.
no way to make the visuals look as distinct as they do in animation, because like
here's the thing I'm concerned about though. Is it going to be green screens or orange screens? That's the question.
like there's no way to really replicate the sort of stark reds that are in the original Akira.
I mean,
there is. It's called Yusei's Motorcycle.
You know what? I think Akira would be easier in a way to make, just because it's actually more influenced by Western shit. It's very influenced by like Blade Runner and stuff.
Can somebody tell me what's the original version? Is it green or orange? Because I saw the one with orange.
No, I think what are you talking about?
He's talking Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, the original movie had green as the primary color, but 2.0 changed it to orange.
Yes, I actually have both. I have the 25th anniversary.
Yeah, I think I saw the
I
orange
do
one.
prefer. Yeah, I prefer the original.
Of course, who doesn't? That
I don't know,
awful.
it
CG.
just-
I mean, it's not
all
like Star Wars
blended
Special
together.
Edition bad. I'm just saying orange.
Yeah, sure. But
Yeah, it's not special edition bad because at the very least you could actually see the fucking original.
Kevin, that was the best Family Guy joke with the sock puppet. Remember that? They added more aliens in the special editions, and then the sock puppet runs in. He's like, "Hey guys, look at me!"
oh yeah, that's from the Blue Harvest or whatever.
Well, the third one, but yeah.
Yeah. All right,
All right, that has been a show.
gentlemen.
I have been Zeke Freak. That's been Kevin. George wasn't here at all. Forget he exists. Neontaster is a person. Let's all pimp ourselves on the internet.
As per the usual, you can find me on both Tumblr and Twitter at CCharmanderK. I've explained exactly how to spell it before. If you don't know it by now, then what the hell are you even doing here? You piece of shit. Neon.
Yeah, I'm at Neontaster, and you can also visit my other account where I Photoshop random anime stuff into stuff at AnyHistory. That's it. My latest work, David Bowie tribute.
Right. I'm Zeke Freak. Subscribe to my YouTube channel that you're already on, maybe. Follow me on the Twitters, other things. Fiction Press, my writing. Check that out if you're interested in things that are written. And finally, to send us off, we finally have the banjos.
It hasn't been forgotten, not Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. It hasn't been forgotten, not Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
Well, at least it's not Spanish Flea.
Good night, everybody.